All right, episode 29 of the Lucas Grandsire podcast. We know what it is. Super creative podcast, super creative guy. Even my dog's name is named after the color he is. Just tell you how creative I am. But very excited about this guest today. For once, it's a guy that's kind of outside of the MMA circle. It is the great Remington James. I feel like I could list off all the things you do. Anabolic chef, right? Fitness YouTuber, all this stuff. We could spend all day, right? Businessman and everything. What's going on, sir? How are you?
Oh man, longest day of my life, dude. One of them days where it's just like from the moment I woke up till right now, we ain't stopped him. We're still doing it. So
Yeah, because that's right. Like your day's over, but you still sat down to do a podcast, tired or not. Like we got to appreciate you for that one.
hey man, you gotta just motto in life, you get shit done. You just get it done. You know what I mean? So I didn't realize this was an MMA podcast.
Well, so that's the thing, right? It's got my name on it. I could have named it something corny like Head Kick, MMA
Right.
podcast and stuff, but I was like, I'm gonna call it the Lucas Grandsire podcast. Like I said, I'm creative. And then I talk to people I want to talk to. Like I like to watch your videos a lot. I'm going to invite them on the podcast. But are you an MMA guy? Is it fair to call you an MMA fan?
So okay, back in the day, I was a little more into it than I am now. I actually did 3 months of like MMA training at an MMA gym. So a little bit of experience. I've forgotten all of it. But so just about like 2 months ago, I really got back into it. So like if there's a fight night or like UFC card, I'm getting it. I'm watching it. It's just, in my opinion, because I'm not a sports guy.
Yeah.
I don't watch football. I don't watch, people always think so because I wear these flat bills, but I only wear them because I think the symbol looks cool.
Yeah.
People are like, you're a Cardinals fan. I'm like, dude, is that Cardinals? I don't know. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I think it's the best sport out, man. I fucking love UFC. I love MMA. I really do.
I mean, it's such an exciting sport. Like I hear people like, that, oh, I have trouble getting into combat sports. Like, dude, it's face punching. You know what I mean? Like how much more you like baseball? You don't like face punching? Like, I don't understand how more people haven't gotten into it unless, of course, they're scared of the violence.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's something about it where you're taking two men or two women and they're just training for months, and then everything comes down to these like 3 or 5 rounds in the cage. It's all on the line. It's all technical, and then it's some of the upsets and the rivalries. And when those title fights come, you can't tell me there's nothing more excited. Like 2 weekends ago when Ngannou and Miocic fought, it was like I had probably 10 people at the crib. We got pizzas. We got everybody. Like we do this thing where it's like everybody brings like $20 bills, and then we just do $20 bets on all the fights. You know what I mean? So it's like every fight coming, you're throwing 20 out. You're like, nothing was crazier than when Ngannou just like dropped Miocic. That was, I mean, my money was on Ngannou, but obviously, you know what I mean? Miocic has a little run he's been on. So it was just crazy to watch, man. Crazy to watch. And it's just like, I mean, I imagine some people get that way with like football or like soccer, if you're one of them. But it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, you're like, just so you get hyped when that shit's down to the line and stuff. And it's, I feel like you see that so often in MMA. Like there's just cool shit. And I mean, I grew up, like, I got in a lot of fights growing up, like a lot in grade school and shit, in middle school, high school. So it's like, it's just cool to watch. I like watch people get fucked up.
So what's your record, man? Were you any good? Some people say like, you have fighters that like, I fought in high school, like in the streets, like, oh, what's your record? I got my ass kicked a lot. That's why I'm a fighter now.
Yeah.
Would you have a winning record?
Yeah, I won more than I lost, for sure. Yeah. For sure. I mean, there were some of them that were on film back in the day. Yeah. I remember, dude, it was high school. I don't know, friend. I won't mention any names. But it was like, and it was over dumb shit, dude. I mean, I'm from like Southern Ohio, where like it's a bunch of rednecks. So like, if you feel insulted, like we're fighting over it. You know what I mean? Which is what I hate about like everybody online now. I feel like the problem with everybody on like Twitter and these online platforms, you've just never been punched in the mouth for saying some ignorant shit. So it was like, but even I remember we had like, it was like me and a friend, and we're in the locker room at school, and he had said something about like, well, I could beat you up. Like, no, you couldn't. Like, well, let's do it after school then and find out. We meet, the whole like school shows up. We're like in this backyard. Someone pulls out a camera phone, and we did like first one to draw blood loses. And it was really muddy out.
Oh man.
And then like he was like a lot bigger than me too. Yeah. But he came at me, and I don't know if he like over punched or something. I mean, dude, I was a junior in high school, but like he slipped in the mud and fell, and I just got him like 3 times in the nose, busted him open. Bingo. Yeah. I was like, it was cool because I got clout for it. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? There we go. And like got the tough guy thing. Whole school watched. Problem though, someone there videoed it on their phone and showed the principal in the office. And I went to court for that shit. Dude, yeah, I got like 3 assault charges on me before I ever even graduated.
No, you went to court. In our school was like you got suspended 10 days and they made you write a little, I hit him with a left, he hit me with a right. But that was the end of it. But they made you guys go to court for that.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, it didn't get bad because I got into fights in middle school that never required court. It
Yeah.
was just you just got suspended. But like, dude, once like 8th grade and then high school hit, yeah, dude, everything. Like I remember I just got into an altercation. A dude was picking on my friend, and my friend had a cast on. He was a senior, and we were juniors or sophomores, can't remember. But he was like picking on him, and I just walked up and saw it happen, and like all I did was shoved him. He got in my face, and he got broken up real quick. I went to court for that. Like we both went to court for that. It was just a shove.
Wow.
Yeah. And I got jumped once. And I've been jumped twice. Yeah. So fuck my shoulder up real bad getting jumped.
Well, the thing I heard about jumping is, there's a lot of guys that like, I want to learn Kung Fu so I can whoop like 3 people's ass at the same time. And I remember there's one person explained like, even 2-on-1, you're going to lose that because you have 2 people and you're one guy. You know what I mean? So like getting jumped, it's like, as soon as you got more than 2 people, like, I don't care how heroic you are. Like the Tims come out to your face, like it's over.
I mean, there's just too much happening.
Yeah.
Like when there's multiple people. I got jumped on Ohio University campus once, and that was not fun. I got fucked my shoulder up. I still have shoulder problems to this day. Just like it was like 8 dudes on a porch, and I was drunk as shit. It was probably my fault. You know what I mean? So I was just drunk as shit. You feel like your feet, like you're invincible when you're drunk.
Liquid courage.
I just waded into one dude, and his friends just fucking stomped me. And then our friends came back. Then it was like dude, I'm surprised I'm alive, bro. I'm surprised I'm alive. Real talk.
It's funny you say that because you mentioned the redneck thing. Like I grew up in North Carolina, so it's like if anybody can understand, like I grew up in the South, man. So I get the redneck thing. We've had the parties like that where one of our friends got way too drunk and started arguing with the big redneck, and then they fight, and you think it's over, and then you got a bunch of dudes that show up in those big ass trucks. Everybody's got a baseball bat and stuff, and you're like, whoa, hold on, that's not jumping anymore. Like somebody's gonna get fucked up
like
before
a
you don't
war.
get out of here. Yeah, we got a dip. Like we're about to start a race war. This is black too, and it was like, look, man, like. It's like we fuck with you, but it's like there's way too many like racist people out here for you to be doing stuff like that.
Well, dude, I mean, where I grew up, man, it was they just canceled the Confederate flags, all around. But like where I grew up, that was just like dudes had those in their trucks. Never once did like I don't know, I never looked at it. I didn't have a Confederate flag, but I never looked at it as like something that was racist.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, back then, which is wild now that it's like you look at the history of it, you're like, ooh. That is a little tainted.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, man, North Carolina, it's pretty much the same thing where it's like you had and my high school was famous, before I got there for race wars. Like every other week, it was like, as people labeled it, blacks versus rednecks. And it's like you had the trucks on one side with the guys, wearing the full suit of camo with the big boots, and the black guys would come in. And it's like, it got pretty crazy. It's crazy. Like, everybody today talks about, peace and stuff. But back in high school, man, shit got wild.
Yeah, man. I just think that, like I said, man, earlier, we're in a weird spot, dude. It's like, all these people that talk peace are so quick to hop on Twitter and just like say some ignorant shit. That's my least favorite part about social media is fucking comment sections and fucking cartoon profile pictures on Twitter. Dude, if I had like one wish, I could rub a genie bottle and have one wish right now. I would just like line them all up in a row. All the cartoon profile pictures, shit talking motherfuckers, and I'd slap all of them in the mouth. That literally, I dream about that. That would be so cathartic. That would just be the best over anything. I'd trade the Lambo in. I'd do it all. I'd be like, that's what I'd want to do. Some fucking internet haters, dude. Can't stand them.
It's funny because, you mentioned it's an MMA podcast. Like obviously on Twitter, I'm a part of all the MMA stuff. And you think for such a tough sport, like the people would match the toughness of, some of these athletes, right? But in reality, like these guys talk so much shit about these guys. And then the fighters, what they do this thing where they mistake cartoon profile picture for like a legit journalist. Like, oh, the media's talking shit. No, man.
All right.
3 followers McGee with the SpongeBob profile picture, dude. That's not the people that cover the sport. And it's
and that's one thing I've had to like come to terms with myself. Cause like, I'm pretty fortunate in that I don't really get a lot of negative stuff. I mean, no matter what, you're online, you're going to get something, but like, I don't really get it that much. And if I do, I don't see it, but it's like, I just get pissed off reading replies to like, what I mean, especially like MMA fighters or like rappers I follow or just people I follow. I'm just reading the replies. I'm like, who in the fuck are you?
Yes.
So an example, man, I really think a lot of it's, young kids, man, young, angry guys. Cause I got in this argument the other day. What was it? So I'm in Texas and they just ended the mask mandate a couple weeks back.
Right.
Right. So no more masks down here. Thank God. So like one of my friends down here posted like, hey, Texas extended the mask mandate. What do you think? And then someone replied, I can't remember the specifics, but someone replied something about like we're all gonna die and that the worst state in the world, and we should like just this big long thing, cartoon profile picture.
Yeah,
and I just replied with coward. You know, I couldn't help it. I need to not get baited in like that. I replied coward, and then like this exchange started happening, and I'm arguing, and this he like looked at my page and he's like something about like dumb meathead bodybuilder, like get back in the gym, and ended up saying like so something, he called me like unsuccessful, like all this shit. And then it like boiled down to the argument went on and on and on. And then eventually he goes, well, I don't even know what you're doing on here arguing with a kid. And I'm like, or he said a teenager. And I'm like, dude, because I called him out on his cartoon profile picture.
Right.
I'm like, put your face on here if you're a real man. And he's like, and it basically just boiled down to like, I don't know what you're doing arguing with a teenager. I'm like, dude, there's no age in your profile.
Right.
You have a bleeding skull as your profile picture, and you're on here talking mad shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, then I like deleted all my shit, felt bad afterwards, just because I'm like, dude, that was fucking pointless. You know what I mean? That was fucking stupid. I just pissed myself. But it's just like that, like, because when I was young, man, I probably would have been an asshole online too. If I think about it, you know what I mean? Like, you probably would have been an asshole too. So it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't think all people should be allowed to talk.
Yeah.
Real talk, though. I really don't. I just think that I think the difference now compared to like back in the day was like, in order to have any type of platform, you had to be vetted for it, right? Like you in order to speak, someone had to kind of put you on. You had to show some type of I don't know, like ability to at least conduct yourself in a decent manner, have a decent average level of intelligence. I think we just have a bunch of low status motherfuckers just talking shit, and it's just fucking makes my head hurt.
Yeah, well, what sucks is when you see, like, to come back to the fighters, like, you'll see, like, the fighters will be engaging with those kind of people, and then, you see all the support, and they're going to reply to the three, like, it's either extreme, like, 60-year-olds that are talking shit to a fighter in his prime, or, like you mentioned, the kid with the bleeding skull, like, and it's weird, because it's like, why are you giving those guys attention? Like, that's what they want, and the joke is always, you talk shit, but if you saw me in person, oh, can I get a picture? Can I get your autograph? I'm a big
100%.
fan, like, all of that.
Well, dude, it's and the thing is, it's easy to look at those guys and be like, why would you respond to that? But until you're there and you see it,
right?
Like it's so hard to explain, man. But I can get 100 good comments and one bad one, and the one bad one sits with me all day. It pisses me off all day. The good ones don't do shit. You know what I mean? At first they did. When I first started like coming up, it was like the good ones were great, and like I appreciate all those good ones. I do, but they don't do anything. There's nothing there. But the bad ones fuck with me. So I can see why anybody, like, because you just want to like reach out and just fucking choke somebody, dude. Like, especially a fighter, especially someone that's like,
you can do that
fighting for a living. They know like 100%, because there's a chance that like I could be talking shit to a cartoon profile picture and it's a fucking 6'10" convict, you know what I mean? Fucking fingernails shaved to blades, and I just get murdered. But then like, you know what I mean? But like a fighter, it's like, all right, there's a 0.0001% chance you could fuck with me in real life. So I can see why you'd be combative. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Bitch. Like, I can see that.
Well, that's the thing is, for a while I was doing, interviews for like this big YouTube channel, talking to the fighters and stuff. And the thing when you have such a big platform out of nowhere is all the comments. And, everybody's like, don't read the comments. And you're like, yeah, no, I won't. And then there you are scrolling through it. And you see all the shit talking. When you're not used to it, your first reaction is, Mark Hunt had a famous quote where somebody was like, hey, man, you need to leave this Brock Lesnar stuff alone. He answers back like, who the fuck do you think you are? Get the fuck off my page. I wanted to copy and paste on every single one of those comments. All of it's like, you suck. Who the fuck do you think you are? You fuckwit. Get off my page. But you have to learn, like, let those go. Try to appreciate the good guys. But
yeah.
Low-key, some good feedback on some of them. If someone's like, your audio shit, it's like, well, it sucks to hear, but you know what? Maybe I can fix that. You didn't mean to
there's a big difference between like constructive criticism and a motherfucker out just to like try to hurt you. You know what I mean? Big difference. I follow Joe Rogan's advice. I haven't read a YouTube comment in going on a year. Wow. Yeah. And the only ones I really see are like Instagram. Like I said, I don't even know why it bothers me so much, because I don't get much hate. This is the fuck part and why I need to delete Twitter off my phone. I get mad for people talking shit to other people. Like, I'm like following someone, and I'm like, it was Michael Bisping the other day.
Yeah.
I was just like, he tweeted something. I'm just like reading some replies like an idiot. Come across and someone was just fucking, you know what I mean? Something about his that one where he got hit. Was it? So I don't know, something about some after some hit or something. I
Is
don't
it
even
Dan
know.
Henderson where he laid him out and then jumped on top of him with
Yes,
the extra
yes.
point?
It
Yeah.
was something
Yeah.
like that, but it was basically like twisted it to where like it was this if you watched it, it seemed like he could have maybe done it on purpose, but it seemed like just heat of the moment. It's really hard to say what's happening there.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, that shit was on purpose. I think everyone has agreed because they were talking shit leading up to the whole
Yeah, yeah,
fight,
yeah.
and everybody called it like and I think he turned it into his logo where he's flying in the air. Dan Henderson, he made that his official logo and
Oh,
stuff.
that's dope.
That's got to be on pride.
That's
Come on,
dope.
man, you turned it into a brand.
Yeah, that's his own Jordan Jumpman right there.
and he's
But
jumping.
yeah, but dude was talking. I'm just like reading this shit, and
Yeah.
the dude said something just heinous, and I'm just like sitting there reading it, getting mad, and I'm just like, I should delete this app. Like, if it wasn't for what I did, I would not have fucking Twitter. I despise Twitter. I tell everybody that I hate Twitter, but yet it's on my phone. I just keep it every morning, all day, just make myself mad.
Yeah, but for you, it's become like a marketing tool, right? Because that's how people find you, YouTube, stuff like that. I mean, and
100%,
Twitter, it
yeah.
helps too, right? Like you have to use your platforms that you have.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's with great power comes great responsibility. So we're given these tools that are so powerful. You can reach all these people, expand your business, make money, you know what I mean? Live your best life. But at the same time, like these fucking things are just, I mean, in general, I mean, social media is it's a great tool, but it's a fucking waste of time.
Yeah.
Like, because there's certain days, man, like I'm not on social media that much for real. I sound like I'm always on it, but I'm really not. But like, there's days if I'm extra tired, I sleep like shit. That distraction pulls me in so much more. And it's just like the perfect storm of just like, next thing you know, dude, your day that should have been done at 6, it's like 9 o'clock at night. You're still fucking working. Been reading nothing but bullshit. I never get off social media with a profound experience that I just discovered some hidden wealth of knowledge. Like it's never that. It's just, asses and knockouts and people talking shit, stock market down, like shit like that.
Oh man, I want to get back to your MMA things. I'm curious. You mentioned you get back into it. I'm always curious, like guys that get into the sport, or in your case, get back into it. I know like the names are a big thing, right? For a lot of people to get into it, you have to follow these characters and sort of root for them. Who are those guys for you? Like, who are the guys that you follow that really put you back into the sport?
Well, okay, I'm trying to think of the first fight I watched when I came. So the big thing for me with the UFC fight, so I moved here to Texas about 2 years ago. Well, year and a half. So like back before I moved, I would always have fights on it, have people over, then we'd make it like an event. And then when I moved down here, I didn't really have like a lot of friends, no one to invite over. And then what was that first fight I watched back? It was the big card. It was that last the Conor McGregor Poirier fight.
Oh, in January?
Yeah. That just happened not that long ago. So that was one like no one had really interested me. I hadn't been anywhere or around anybody that watched MMA. Shit's locked down. The sports bars are closed. I don't know how I can UFC actually had me blocked. So I couldn't so I couldn't do the fights. That's a long story. So I couldn't watch. I didn't know that like ESPN was a new way for the fights or whatever. So but it was that fight and things had just opened up in January and it was like the talk of downtown. So went with some friends down here in Houston and we went out. The fight was on and we're just watching it. And the crowd's huge. Everybody's excited. Masks are off. Everybody's drinking, just having fun. And then you watch the fight and the excitement. I go into it. I got a little bit of money on Conor. And then Conor like looks like he's, doing pretty good. And then he gets got real quick. And it was just like the excitement and the buildup and the letdown. It was like I hadn't felt that many emotions since before COVID. You know what I mean? Just being locked inside with a dog. You forget what it feels like to be human. So it was like that happened. And I was like, all right, I need to get back into this. And then the card, what was the card after that?
Was it a fight night or was it a pay-per-view?
I think it was a pay-per-view because I think I got that pay-per-view, signed up on ESPN after that, loved that. And I watched it by myself in my house. And it was just the coolest thing.
Yeah. That's a sign. If you watch it by yourself, that's how you know you like it.
Yeah. And I did that one night. Because it was always one of them things too. You're like, man, am I going to spend $70 to sit here and watch this? But now I'm like, yes, I'm going to spend $70. I'm going to spend another 50 on pizza. Right. And we're doing the damn thing. So yeah, I just started watching it and I just fucking loved it. To then the card after that, I actually started, like, I watched all the prelims, and then I watched the main card. Then I'm watching the fight nights, and then to where it's like with Leon Edwards and the eye poke.
Yep.
And then it's like so that's coming up on the card. Is it UFC 2 or the one that's coming next or in a couple weeks?
You thinking
I think,
the pay-per-view or
yeah,
the
yeah.
one that's coming to Texas?
Is that the one? Is that the Texas one or is that the Florida one? 'Cause I think it's Florida, then it's Texas.
Is it? I'm trying to. They are. You get so many of them. They start to
I
blend
know,
in.
I
Is
know.
it? Is
With the
it the
fight nights and
Diaz? Is
everything.
it
But
the Diaz card?
yes, I think is yeah, Leon's fighting Diaz, isn't
Yeah,
he?
I think it's Texas card. That's Texas card because they're
Okay,
co-main
okay.
co-main event, and they got Kamaru and Jorge Masvidal main event.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Yeah. So but yeah, basically, like, I'm just into it now where, like, I wouldn't have known who Leon was. And then now it's
Yeah,
like you watch the fight and you really get invested in the characters. You're like, oh, it's
yeah,
like professional wrestling back in the day, except it's real. You know what I mean? And you're
yeah.
and you're like, yeah, I don't know, dude, it's just it's cool. And I've, like I said, I've never been a sports guy. So just watching it, and I feel it makes me almost feel more like a man. Because, you know, I go places and people are like, hey, like, you know, what'd you think of the Browns game? I'm like, I have no idea. Like, dude, I
Yeah.
was growing up, like, everybody's like, the quarterback for Ohio State. I'm like, I don't even know who the quarterback is. I don't know who the coach is. I just played a lot of video games. So I've just never been that sports guy. But like with UFC, I'm working my way. I'm going to become that, you know, the UFC guy.
Well, so have you reached that point now? You watch all the events. Have you become like, has your social media slowly started morphing into UFC stuff? Like a good chunk of it is the fights and stuff like that. That's kind of
100%.
how they get you. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I mean, dude, but speaking to the power of social media, because it's like, I'm watching, and then you're watching the card and you see the live tweeting happen.
Yep.
Right. So then you're like, I'm going to send a live tweet, you know, but
That's
I
how
don't
they
have a blue
get you.
check mark. So they ain't putting my shit on
Right.
there.
Right.
But it's like, but then you're seeing like John Jones tweets this. Like, I need to follow John Jones. This guy tweets this. I'm going to follow him. And then it's like the whole, like, this is who they follow type shit, or based on who you
Yeah.
follow pops up. And then you're just MMA Mania and
Yeah.
ESPN MMA. And it's just, you know, then you're just seeing clips. And the exciting part, though, for like Twitter, one good thing is like during the cards, you're on Twitter between fights and you got everybody live tweeting about it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, like that's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. And if you're just kind of tapping in, tapping out of it, that's dope. Don't start reading the replies, you know what I mean? But if you can stay on the surface level, and just get that finger on the UFC pulse, yeah. Now it's dope shit, dude. I'm a big fan. So like the card, there's a fight night this weekend, right?
Yeah, it's Kevin Holland and Marvin Vettori.
Okay. What do you think? How do you think that's gonna be?
I have to put this out there because I have to put it out every podcast. Kevin Holland and I had an unpleasant Twitter exchange, so I just not Twitter, text exchange. So I do have to put that out there every time I make a pick in his fight because I like to be transparent. But
yeah.
I figure Marvin Vettori. I feel like he's better at this point in his career, but I still, you know, Kevin Holland has the ability to shock people like he did. Not his last fight, but the fight before. But I'm gonna lean towards the Italian stallion.
Yeah. Okay. What's your thoughts on I'm trying to remember the cat's name. In the last card, the dude that got beat, and it's like his fourth loss in a row. I think he used to be champion.
I'm drawing a blank. I
know
know
what
who
I'm
you're
talking
talking
about?
Yes,
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. It's like I can't.
Is it Tyron Woodley?
Yes, Tyron Woodley.
Go.
Oh man, that one. It's like I remember watching him in his prime, and everyone was on Twitter talking about GOAT. Oh, he's gonna come for George St. Pierre. He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. And then he loses one fight, starts getting into rapping, and now it's like he's the worst fighter of all time. But
yeah,
I give him a lot of credit, man, because he was having this issue where he wasn't exciting. He was backing up. He was hesitating because he's incredibly athletic. He's very fast. You watch him throw punches. That dude is lightning quick, and he can knock out a horse. So seeing him go up in that last fight, and then he's working on it. He's being exciting. He's throwing, and you know, Vicente Luque made him pay for it. Like it was just disappointing, but that's the sport, man. Like as soon as you take a step down, there's a young, hungry guy that's ready to take your place.
It's always sad seeing I mean, you obviously the come ups are amazing.
Yeah.
Like watching those runs are amazing, and seeing someone in their prime is amazing. But like seeing the mighty fall, is such a terror. I hate to see it. Like, you know, there's people that root against like I've never understood the people that root against like a Conor or root against like a Floyd Mayweather, because it's like the hardcore people that just hate their guts, because it's like this is greatness right here. And to see Conor lose is sad to me because he had such a run. You know what I mean? And it's
I know,
it's sad. Like, it sucks. And I'm like, I was legitimately, like I said, when I watched that fight live, we'd all had some drinks in us. We're downtown. There's a crowd. Everything's fun. There's music. And he lost. And I remember like half the people there weren't there for the UFC.
Yeah.
So like half the people are just like still drinking, You know what I mean? Just, oh, he lost. Okay. And I'm sitting there just like, it could have been a shot in a movie where like everything around me freezes and like zooms in on me and it's sad music. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
but it was like that emotion was like, all right, like, I need to keep watching these because then the highs are
Yeah.
so high. Like, dude,
Yeah.
that, the Blasko, is it Blaskowitz? Blaskowitz?
Blachowicz and Adesanya.
Adesanya. Yeah.
Yeah.
That fight was dope because there was so much on the line. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then, Adesanya lost, but like he didn't get his ass whooped.
No.
So that was,
Yeah.
and I want John Jones to come and fight Ngannou.
Yeah.
What do you think
And
happens there?
I don't even know because it's like skill wise, you know who's better, but power wise, you know who's gonna shut the lights off. So it's like you can pick that fight and you could get it wrong every single time because 10
Right.
times they fight 10 times, it goes completely different. It's never gonna be like one. I don't know, man. I feel like the safe pick, you want to go with someone fundamental like John Jones, but Francis Ngannou, like he touches you real nice,
I
it's
know
over.
you're done. You're done. Yeah, that's I've been thinking about that one a lot because like John Jones, one of the greats. I mean, if not the great.
Yeah, people say it's a GOAT. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, that's a card. Yeah. I mean, they're talking about like they can't get him enough money. I'm like, dude, just raise the cost of that pay-per-view to 100. I'm still in. Like, if we
Yeah.
got to help cover to get John in that ring, like,
Bro,
do it.
they have the money. It's just they don't want to pay it. And why would you pay it if you can get away with it? That's the big thing right now that people are saying. Like a lot of people are like pay the fighters, and then other people are like make the damn fights. Like,
Right.
but this one, it's like, this is a legacy fight. You know what I
Right.
mean? One of them's gonna go down. Like, you remember this guy from Cameroon, Francis Ngannou, when he fought John Jones. Like, this is the kind of fight you talk about years later. People call it Ali Foreman. I don't know about that because time will tell, but this is a legacy fight right here. It's like
Yeah.
you go back and look at Anderson's fights and stuff like that. This is the fight to make.
Well, maybe, right? What they're going to do is take, because I think they're already in talks. Ngannou, they have him lined up to fight someone already. I've seen some buzz on Twitter about that.
Derek Lewis, who's actually in Houston as well. So,
Okay.
maybe stop by the gym, do a little video with
Yeah.
Derek Lewis and a little bit of content.
Little quick one-on-one, see if he's, quick on his feet.
That dude.
Yeah,
Derek Lewis.
He fucked me up. Dude, but that thing with bodybuilding, dude, I've lost so much flexibility. I'm not even that big, but it's just like the flexibility of like not stretching or doing any of that stuff anymore, man. It's but so here's my thing. Ngannou, they want to get a few more fights out of him, 2 or 3, to cement him as the greatest, and then they hype it up. You know what I mean? Because I'm showing up for any Ngannou fight too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who's not going to show up to watch that power now?
Yeah. Exactly.
So they almost have to milk him for a couple fights. And then once he reaches like a Nurmagomedov or, what's the bad bitch's name that's just fucking everybody up? Nunes. Yeah, you reach that status where like it's like who's coming? That's when you bring him off the bench. And then that's when that money, you know what I mean? Is like, okay. I think he said he wanted like 50 million.
I mean, might as well, dude. Like, there's a demand for it. And that's the big thing. People want to see that shit.
I want it.
So
50 million. That's a stack, bro.
It's a stack, but look at what guys in other sports are making. And then if you look at how much the UFC is worth, you're like, yo, you can toss a quick 50 mil that way. Like, it's not completely unrealistic. Like, how many people who don't watch any sports and you say UFC and they know pretty much what you're talking about? No one's going to think like it's karate or anything. Like, they know UFC. Oh, yeah, it's the face punching.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the UFC in general. It's like it's got its like the UFC. It's like everybody knows who Conor McGregor is.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. So if like that's why I think Conor was so good for the sport, just from an optics perspective.
Yeah,
like because he's so much charisma, like talks a lot of shit, just wins, and he's just like a household name. So it's like then John Jones. I mean, he had his issues. Jesus. It's crazy to think you can stay on top and like you're like crashing cars and doing coke and partying in Vegas.
That's GOAT stuff right there. Like the dude talks about, I barely trained for this fight. I was on coke 2 weeks before that fight. It's like there's some natural ability in there. So I mean,
100%.
obviously, I'm sure it's exaggerated, but still, you're like, how many guys are eating chicken and broccoli for 8 weeks, and this guy shows up like, I was doing coke 2 weeks ago, like
off a coke bender. You know what I mean? Like the stripper drops him off at the front gate. They're like, dude, put him in a gi, get him out there.
It's like he's hung over out there in the middle of the cage, fucking people up. Like it's insane.
Nah, that is you're right. That's GOAT shit. Isn't his family like all athletes?
Yeah, because he's got 2 brothers. I want to say Arthur and there's another one I always forget. Arthur and Chandler, who are both in the NFL, and they're saying John Jones is the least athletic out of his brothers. So what does that tell you about the freaks of that family?
It tells you they need to be in the UFC.
Yeah, because people are like, John Jones should be in the NFL. Nah, dude, bring all these guys to fighting. We want to see some face punching out of all these people.
I wonder if they all have the same leg genetics.
That's right. You're a fitness guy. You're looking at that stuff. Everybody's on his
Yeah.
comments talking about chicken legs, but he said he's working on it. I mean, do you believe that? Is that something that's genetics, or is he just
I mean, dude,
not
that
working?
is 100% genetics.
Because you think like
100%.
he's big, right? Like he wouldn't just say, "I don't feel like doing legs because I don't want
Yeah,
to."
nah, I mean, dude, there's so much of like what I think everybody doesn't understand about bodybuilding and this fitness stuff is like you can have the perfect diet and the perfect training, and there's a dude that could do a quarter of the work, an eighth of the work you're doing, and look 10 times better, just based solely off genetics.
Yeah.
Like it's you're either born with it or you're not. Now, I mean, you always have like you can always lose weight, you can always build muscle, you can always optimize the genetics you were given. But it's like no matter
Yeah.
what I do, I've taken steroids, I've done some pretty crazy cycles, I've done every diet under the sun, and I just can't get like no matter what I take or what I do, I'm never going to look like a Mr. Olympia. There's nothing I could do to look like that. But then those guys, you look at pictures of them when they're like teenagers and they're just like fucking twice my size. And it's just like, you know what? And their diet couldn't have been good back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like their training couldn't have been that good.
No.
So
Are you familiar with Derek Brunson?
Derek Brunson, why do I know that name?
He was the last guy to fight Kevin Holland. They were a main event. You probably watched it, but maybe you
watched it. Was that the one? Yeah, the guy that was acting all crazy,
talking the entire time. Yeah,
dude. Yeah, that was wild.
So people clown on Derek for his physique because he's got these shoulders that stick all the way out. And I was on a podcast because I'm obviously if I'm talking to you, I'm interested in this kind of stuff. And I'm like, listen, you got a really good frame. Like if this guy, like all the bodybuilders, right, or even someone like The Rock, Dorian Yates, you look at them when they're like small. They all have those gigantic shoulders that look like they're about to bust out of their t-shirts, and they're not even that muscular.
Picture of Derek Brunson. I think I know exactly. I mean, I watched the fight.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. So you're saying you think Derek Brunson could be a
He's got a very good frame. Like just shoulders alone, like he's got the potential for something. Like people are clowning him, like he looks like he's always holding groceries, but it's like, there's a lot of people that
dude, grade A genetics.
Right.
Like,
but people don't understand that. Yeah.
I mean, dude, so some people that are just born with it. Yeah. Like you just have it. I mean, I remember growing up, like I was never muscular growing up. I was always like the skinny fat kid. I didn't do anything. I played video games. I'd go to the pool, had love handles, was just like not athletic looking even in the slightest bit. And then you'd have the kids that would show up and they had like a six pack and fucking chest muscles.
Good at every sport, no matter what. And they didn't even know how to play. They're just athletic.
Just pick it up and go. Like, you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
That is a gift from the Lord himself. That you're born with it or you're not. Yeah. Like, so yeah, someone like Derek Brunson, that dude, I mean, he could quit doing what he's doing now and compete. If he just put a year into it, took a nice little steroid cycle, that's because if the USADA is as crazy as they say it is, it's almost impossible to get away with any type of drugs. I mean, you look at those before and after videos where people are like, they show like before USADA came in and after the dude showing up just watery and 10 pounds lighter.
But people still don't believe they're on steroids. Like Vitor Belfort, who said I'm on TRT, and you see pictures. Some people are like, nah, it's not what it is. It's like, look, I understand you don't want to taint the sport or whatever, but at some point you got to be honest, dude. Like, look at this guy Hercules, and now he comes in 40 pounds lighter and he looks completely different. You got to be honest for a second.
I mean, dude, I'm willing to say that. I mean, I know the UFC has its strict rules now, but I mean, dude, like my gym, for instance, I know a lot of people really high up in the fitness industry that tell everybody they're natural and they don't take anything. And like some of the biggest names in the fucking industry,
dude, all the bodybuilders, they all say, "Oh, it's chicken and brown rice."
Yeah, and here's the thing: you take steroids by themselves, and your diet is shit, and your genetics are shit. You're still going to look like shit. You might put on 10 pounds of muscle, but that when you have fat covering it, you're still going to look like shit. I've known a lot of people that are like non-responders to steroids. They take steroids and maybe they aren't training hard enough, or they aren't eating enough protein. Their diet's not good, and they don't really change. They get a little thicker. They don't really change. And like thing with steroids is it goes both ways. You can be taking a lot of testosterone. You could be stacking other compounds with it. And if you're not careful, the side effects really fucking suck. Side effects are terrible. Yeah. So like that's another reason your diet needs to be in check when you're on steroids, because if you're not careful, you end up with gyno. So you get those like actual breast tissue starts forming on your, like that's the Adesanya thing.
Right. Well, so what's your take on that? Because he came out, he had
He took steroids.
a left pec and a right boob. So you think just
He
the
took
right boob?
steroids.
That's
100%.
yeah.
I did like a little deep dive into it because I
Oh yeah.
saw it was going around big in the fitness community. A lot
Right.
of people
Right.
clowning on it. And I'm
Yeah.
watching it and I'm like looking at the befores, the afters. Then I watched the actual fight on that ESPN app is so dope. You can watch the old fights and shit.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a lot of catching up.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. He had to have taken steroids.
You think so? So he said it was weed. You don't buy that at all.
Weed?
That's what he's. That's why everybody was like,
Weed?
oh, hold on, what? But yeah, that's
Yeah,
so. So
if it
for
was
you,
laced with Tren and you know what I mean? No,
well,
it
so
had to be.
how does that happen? How do you have like one boob and like one regular? Like how does that? I
I
mean,
would say a lot of it's I would say it's genetics. But even then, it's hard to say. Like you might just have one area of your chest that's more susceptible to it. Because I think so with me, I've taken a decent little amount of steroids and I've never had any problems ever. But I have
right,
friends that take steroids. I have a friend, I actually okay, I gotta be careful how I phrase it. A
right,
guy I know very well, he's dealing with it right now. He's got a little
yeah.
lump that he needs to get rid of. And a lot of the guys, when it happens, it's so little and you catch it so early, you can like knock it out. So
What do you do? Surgery to knock it out, or is there a
well,
way outside?
surgery, they can cut the gland out. So they because literally you develop breast tissue. You
Right,
develop a boob on top of your muscle.
right.
That's crazy. So it's like they can go and they can cut the gland out with surgery. Or if you take a certain bodybuilding, there's like a
Is it
PCT
the
medication stuff you
estrogen
take.
blocker or something like that?
Yeah, well, you can take estrogen blockers, things like that. But there's one in particular. Maybe it's called. I've never had to take it, so I can't remember. But there's one thing you can take in particular. Names on top of my head, but you take it and it's supposed to like if you get it early enough, it'll zap it, shrink it, then you
Right.
won't really know it's there. So I'm surprised Adesanya let it get, dude. That was a B cup.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was distract. Like once you notice it, it's like it's very distracting. Like it's like I like the guy. I've interviewed him before, but it's like it. There was something you couldn't say like, oh, some people are like maybe he tore his pec, but it's like, man, it's a boob.
That's
Like
not a
we
torn
see,
pec.
yeah, it's a boob. We can see that it's a
That's a
boob.
tit.
Yeah,
You could grab that thing. You could
yeah,
fondle that. That's a breast.
yeah.
So yeah, he had to have. I mean, I don't know of any other way that would have happened. And I watched a lot of videos on it trying to explain it. And it
So
was
more
like
plates, more dates did something too. Well, he does it on everybody, but I assume
yeah,
he
yeah.
did something on Israel as well.
Yeah, and I mean his conclusion was like has to be steroids.
Yeah,
Yeah, at least from what I remember that video. I mean, that just doesn't happen. Like
yeah,
that just does not happen. So I would imagine he's in this off season, and but like, and here's the thing, I don't care that he took steroids.
right.
I think they should make it legal, make all these dudes be able to take everything, and we could have just the craziest fights in the world.
That's called pride. That's pride back in the day, but we
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's like put everybody on whatever they want, get everybody to peak position because it's in like every other sport, anyways. So it's like I really think anybody competing at the top level, the incentives are there for you to
yeah.
want to take this shit.
And but you're rich enough that you can like find ways to bypass some of the shittier testing, like in the NBA, for example.
Well, that you can these guys have access to doctor. I mean, dude, there
Yeah,
is so many little black market things, or above board black markets that these guys have access to. When you have money, the barriers just fall away.
yeah,
And then you join the Chicago Bulls, and then like your one teammate goes, "Hey, so here's this guy. I'm going to link you up," and you just got your millions of dollars, sign on, and you're just like, "All right, well, this is only it's like pennies to them at this
yeah,
point." And these doctors feel cool because they're rubbing shoulders with the athletes, and it's like a clout thing. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So
yeah,
it's like,
yeah, yeah.
and it's and even now, just like because your most basic form of steroids is just taking testosterone. So it's like
Right.
in a lot of places you can go to these just like health like clinics, fill out some papers, and they'll just like give you test. Or if
Yeah,
you're on steroids, you come off of them. You don't let you like basically have a couple week period before you start like everything leaves your system and then like your test levels start recovering, but it takes a minute. So if you've been abusing it for a while, quit, wait 2 weeks, and then go in and get tested. They're going to go, "Oh, your shit's in the gutter. You need this medication." And then
right,
boom, you have
right.
it.
Yeah,
So I don't see why, yeah, but Adesanya, he had to have done it in the off season. And, yeah, just had an adverse reaction. The fact that you wouldn't get that fixed is beyond me. I imagine it was so bad. I imagine he had to have tried to do something to shrink it.
yeah.
Maybe
Because
it didn't work.
it's not like you wouldn't notice it until people pointed it out. Like it's your body, like you see that, and you're training shirtless a lot, so there's no excuse really.
Well, and it was wasn't it gone in this last fight?
I'm not sure if it was. I mean, it was reduced. Something he did something. I feel like it was at least reduced, but it wasn't quite the boob it was the first
Yeah.
time around.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, now that I'm thinking about it, remembering back, there wasn't, because I mean, the first fight I watched, there was a glaring
Yeah.
tit in it.
Yeah.
Like it was glaringly obvious from
Because
every
even
angle.
even the nipple was, like, giant compared to the other one. It was like you
Oh yeah.
couldn't miss it. You couldn't mi once you saw it, there was no way you
Yeah,
could,
there was
like
no
yeah,
unseeing that thing. Yeah, I
yeah,
dreamed about it. It
yeah.
was it haunted me for a minute. So yeah, he either like came off and then maybe realized like, I don't know how you wouldn't have noticed, but so he either took something and drastically shrank it, or I mean, how much time was between those fights? I mean, you can get surgery and heal up pretty quick.
So that was September, and then he fought recently, I wanna say February,
February?
March, March, early March, I wanna say, so
Yeah,
it gives you a
I mean,
little window.
might have gotten surgery and then, cut, heals up, some makeup on it. I don't know. But yeah,
Man.
fucking tits in MMA, dude.
Well, I feel like
Never
that's
know.
why people like you that are into MMA and into the fitness industry, like, you guys need to step in. For the people that have no idea about fitness and just say stupid shit like we did it, I feel like you guys need to step in and like, "Ho, ho, ho." Like, as
Yeah.
someone who knows what this is, like, "Guys, come on." Like, I know we don't nobody wants to admit it, but it's like, this is what it is. This is quite clearly what you
I mean, I've
experienced.
I've smoked a lot of weed. I've never gotten a
Tits.
tit as a side effect.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that have smoked a lot of weed. They've never gotten, it's just that just
Yeah.
does not happen.
Yeah.
That's we'd have heard of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just not the only time ever that I've ever heard of anybody growing a boob that's a man is when they fucked up their steroid cycle.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. Firsthand experience. So yeah, it's weird to but I get it though. I mean, if it was a steroid cycle, he can't say that.
No, 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 you
You know what I
cannot.
mean?
No.
He's not
Yeah.
allowed. So it's like it's in this weird spot where it's like, I'm not hating on the man. I'm just saying he had a
Right.
boob, you
Right.
know? So it's just like yeah, you're just in this weird spot where like you admit it, then you're fucked. But you got a
Yeah.
boob. So you did it.
Yeah.
And now the whole internet gets, and plus two, we like just people that have no idea. You know what I mean? Steroids to people that have never been around them or the fitness industry, they're just this like mythical thing,
Yeah.
and when you don't really understand what they do, or
Right.
and then if you've never smoked weed, and then they're like, the weed did it. And it's just like, and you have 10 different arguments coming in, none of them are even really right. So maybe it'll come clean one of these days. There'll be a documentary on it.
No, no way. So what's his incentive? What's his incentive for as a fighter to do something like that? Because people imagine like you want to be jacked, but as an athlete, it's a different situation.
So the incentive to do actual steroids?
If you're a UFC fighter,
Yeah. So when you're taking, even just at a base level, like more testosterone is going to make you recover faster, train harder, build more muscle. And even after you come off steroid cycles, I mean, there's a ton of studies that show like you come off of steroids, you're not losing everything that you gained
right?
at all. So like I imagine if you're putting in a training camp and you're training 6 days a week with one rest day or 7 days a week, and you're in there and you want to be able to recover faster, you want to eat more, you want to build more muscle. And I mean, why wouldn't you do it? To be honest. And then on top of that, when you're on testosterone, you just feel better.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You just
yeah,
feel good. You feel like an alpha. You're stronger. You can move more shit around. You're horny as fuck.
yeah,
For real. And then yeah. So I mean if you, I guess I always like, if you want to, steroids fucking work, right? And if you're getting paid millions of dollars to fight in an arena and you're the champ and you're defending a title and your legacy and feeding your family for generations is on the line, like it's a no-brainer. Like it's a no-brainer. And I know USADA makes it hard, but it's like
well, here is the thing for USADA. I would say is there has been a question of how well are they traveling. Like in the United States, they're at your house all the time, but they're saying like Paulo Costa, Israel's last title defense at middleweight. He was like, USADA never came to my house. And Israel's in New
really,
Zealand. So are you telling me that like there could be they're maybe not testing them as much as they could because you have some issues with travel? Like there's a few things
huh?
like that people have found with USADA where it is kind of an issue.
Because see, I was reading or I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and it was what was that cat's name on there? He was the was it the CrossFit? It was either Jordan Burroughs or the CrossFit champion guy. One or the other. Jordan Burroughs is the he was like the wrestling
Yeah.
champion.
I know he talked about it a tiny bit, something like that.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, I think it was Jordan Burroughs, had to be. Dope podcast. But he talked about like USADA showing up at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And like he'd be like, I'm sleeping a couple more hours, and they just sit in his room. Then he'd wake
Yeah.
up and
Oh, they don't care, man. I'll watch you piss. Like if
yeah,
they're there, they ain't leaving until they got something.
yeah. I had to take a few drug tests in my day. They weren't quite that intensive. You could have snuck a rubber dick in there,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good question though. The travel thing. I never even thought of that. Yeah, because where's Israel based out of?
New Zealand. That's
Is
why
he?
that's why a lot of people, it's like, "Whoa, like, man, that's not an easy travel. You don't just get on your jet and make that happen."
Yeah, it's hard to time that up for a 5 a.m. visit.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause yeah, and especially during COVID.
Exactly, and that's the thing too, is everyone was like, before it was already tough, but now with COVID, it's like, man, like, it's I mean, it's a risk, but it sounds
Right.
like it would be a lot easier for some of these guys.
I mean, and Paulo Costa looked, if that's who I think it is. Who did he fight last?
I wanna say Israel was the last guy he fought, actually, and I think More Plates, More Dates went on, like, this one-hour video of, "Here's the steroid cycle," and, like,
Okay,
everyone's convinced that this dude is
okay.
most definitely doing
Well, yeah,
something.
I was gonna say he's, I didn't watch that video, but I was gonna say that dude looks juiced to the gills.
Everybody's like, "That's the dream physique," but it's almost too much, like, it's distractingly like, this dude is way more
Yeah.
muscular than everybody
Well, I
else.
mean, that's a combination of, I mean, that's for one, insane genetics.
Right,
Like,
for sure.
regardless of the steroids, that's insane genetics. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was the first time I'd ever seen that dude. And I remember thinking that the whole time. I'm like, this dude is a fucking specimen.
Yeah.
Like, you took
Yeah.
him out of a petri dish and like grew him,
Yeah.
you know, in a lab, and that's just who you came up with. I remember being a little sad that he lost. I was like,
So you're
oh.
rooting for the big muscle dude?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the things I was watching it, and because I think I watched that fight. That was my first Adesanya fight, so I didn't know much about the dude
Yeah.
other than the boob. So that was the only thing I really knew at the time.
Right.
But I've gotten more into him after watching the. I liked what he was saying after the Blackowitz.
It pretty much, because he's Polish, if you say Blachowicz, Blachowicz, whatever you want, pretty much.
Wachowicz.
I say
Right.
Blachowicz, but clearly, like,
Yeah.
if I ever talk to him, he'll be like, "No, dumbass," like that. But
Yeah.
he's not here to correct us. But I believe it's Blachowicz, but I've heard like 17 different ways.
Yeah. That's a bad dude too.
Yeah.
No, it's fun, man. Because like every card you fight, it's like, or every card you watch, it's like you get this. I don't know, like I just get these names, and I'm just like, ooh, I can't wait.
And
So
you
they got me like,
remember them, and you remember them for the next time too.
yeah, hook, line, sinker. Hey, I'm ready. What do you think is gonna happen in this uh, 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 Street Jesus fight?
Man, see, everyone's getting excited because they think he's coming in on a full camp or something. It's going to be the exact same thing we saw last time. Kamaru Usman is way too good to be,
Yeah,
like, Jorge's a very good fighter. He's knocked out some excellent guys, and his boxing, I mean, the clinic he put on Nate Diaz is amazing, but Kamaru Usman, like, that dude is just solid everywhere. I don't see how you can confidently pick against him. What about you? Like, have you had a chance to kind of look into
I
that
have
one?
I have not watched Usman fight yet, so this will be my first time watching him since my
There,
triumphant return.
there's times where he can be super, like the Colby Covington fight. It's like 5 rounds and it's an amazing fight. And there are other times where his wrestling is so good, if he doesn't feel like being exciting, then he's just going to hold you down and dominate you the entire fight. So you never know which Kamaru you're going to end up with.
Well, my whole thing about Masvidal, for one, I love the attitude.
Yeah.
I love that gangster swagger that he's like walking around with. Huge
Yeah.
fan of that. Everything about that I think is dope. But my whole thing about the Askren knockout, obviously it was a spectacle. Was that on what card was that on? The
It was
Askren.
it was on a big card. I think they were only like third fight into the pay-per-view
Well,
or
yeah,
something
I'm
like
trying to
that.
think how long ago was that?
I want to say summer 2019, like July 2019,
Okay, that was the
something like
last
that.
card I watched, I believe, before COVID hit.
Right.
Because I remember watching that thing live and it just being a spectacle.
Yeah.
But as cool as that was, an awesome, like, record-breaking MMA moment, that didn't showcase. I mean, that was a lot of luck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And not everybody wants to say that. People are like, "Oh, he practiced it in the back and stuff,"
Yeah,
but
for
it's like
sure.
things had to line
Incredible
up perfectly.
strategy.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, incredible strategy, but it's
Yeah.
like that's like a 1 in a million thing. Try doing that again.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
never gonna happen again. Like,
But
so.
yeah.
Well, so that's my whole thing is like, yeah, I mean, I think he's good, but I'm not sure if he's I don't think he's champion material. Now he may prove me wrong, but I don't feel like he's champion material. And from what I've heard about Usman, he's bringing the heat.
Well, what I would say for Masvidal is that, a lot of people jumped on that Ben Askren fight, but the fight he had before, and I want to say the fight after against Nate Diaz, for me, is so much more impressive. Knockout's cool, but he went out there to, I believe it was, I want to say London or Liverpool or something, to fight Darren Till, where he was supposed to lose. Puts this guy out cold, and no one had ever done that to Darren Till, who's like 6'2", just gigantic man. He's at middleweight now. And then went up against Nate Diaz and outboxed the boxer and put on an absolute clinic. So for me, like, if you really want to be impressed with Street Jesus, you watch those two fights, like, all right, that like
Bet.
this guy, just his striking alone, you're like, all right, like this dude can box. Like,
All right, I got to watch those then because that sounds incredible. You were explaining it, and I was picturing it. I'm like, all right, maybe I'm sleeping on him a little bit.
dude, the
So
Diaz
there's a
fight.
chance.
Yeah, no, there's a chance. Listen, his stand up is so good that he can make something happen. But Kamaru Usman is so like sound, in everything he does that he doesn't have any excuse not to. He's
Okay,
gonna come out there with a good game plan.
all
Like,
right.
there's no excuse.
Fuck. Well, I mean, I was already excited,
Right?
but I'm
Yeah, I
like,
gotta, I
now I'm
gotta
like, all
sell it
right,
to you now. Yeah.
I gotta, dude. Yeah, like I said, I got that ESPN app now, dude. That's so cool that you can get like, I
So,
was
so you
so,
you like the ESPN apps? I heard a lot of people bitching about it, but for you, you like that app?
yeah. I mean, I don't know what you could bitch about. I mean, I think there could be maybe, yeah. I mean, fuck, I got nothing to bitch about.
Well,
I thought it
see,
was
so
cool as shit.
here's what it is that before we had UFC Fight Pass, pay $10 and you have everything that's ever happened: Strike Force, Pride, old UFC, any UFC, and then you could buy the pay per view just regular on your TV. And then they were like, listen, you got to pay $5 a month for ESPN Plus, and then you got to pay for the pay per view on top of it. And I think that's what pissed people off.
Oh,
And
okay. So it's
and
not like
then
the app functionality; it's the price.
no, it's the fact that you have to pay to then pay. And then ESPN does this fun thing where they send you an email and they're like, here's your special offer for the pay-per-view. And the special offer is that you can buy the pay-per-view, which is like,
Yeah,
what's special about it? Like,
yeah.
I already figured I was going to have to buy it.
Well, yeah. I guess. Well, UFC had me banned, so
Right.
I wasn't able to use their services for a long time.
Oh, for it, like completely, like you
Yeah.
just,
All right. So here's what I think happened
right.
during the what was that? The Connor because Connor Mayweather was hosted by the UFC, was it not?
It was something weird, like co-promoted
Yeah,
between the
but you
UFC
could
and
rent it
somebody else.
through UFC.com.
I think that's possible. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm pretty 99. I'm pretty 99.9 that's what happened. Had a bunch of people over back in Ohio, UFC or that thing, rented it. Middle of it, it crashes. Can't watch it. So we had to
Yeah.
finish the card watching it on Facebook on our phones.
Right.
Like the leaked live streams everybody was doing back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're watching it that way. Huge disappointment. And we finished it out. I wasn't really even that mad. It sucked, but it was like, okay, like I get it, whatever. And then I was hearing it was online. There was a bunch of people bitching about it. And it was like they had an email. You could email them and ask for like a refund.
Oh.
So I did that. I just emailed them
Yeah.
like, hey, it quit working. Could I get like a refund, partial refund or something? Just trying it out. And as soon as that happened, from my IP address at my house, from my internet at my house,
Yeah.
I cannot access UFC.com anymore. It says your IP address is blocked by this website. I couldn't the
Wow.
apps on my TVs wouldn't work. Nothing. And then as soon as I moved down here to Texas, I can do it again.
Right, because you changed your IP. Wow, that's
Yeah.
man, that's so petty.
Yeah. So I'm like, did like the person that was in charge of those emails
Yeah.
just was someone really mad because they probably got a million of them and they're just like mass delete, block. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
insane. Like,
yeah. And now because I remember like we were trying to rent a fight one time, like we just would not work. And we tried multiple times. And I think at one point you could rent them through UFC or you could rent them through ESPN.
yeah. Something
So
like
we
that.
had to like go to ESPN and then do the whole ESPN Plus and all this bullshit. And I'm paying for sports that I don't watch. Remember how
Right,
mad I
yeah.
was about that?
Yeah.
And then yeah, fucking what do you think about Connor? Do you think Connor's because didn't they just approve Connor versus Poirier for the third?
Yeah, I feel confident going into the first one. I was like, how can you not pick Connor? Knocked him out the first time. He's got a guy who's going to stand with him. But you know what? I need to give Poirier his props because that dude came ready to fight, and that stand-up was
Yeah.
crazy. I
Yeah,
don't
that
know,
was
man. It. How do you feel about it?
I want Connor back. That's how I
Yeah,
feel.
well, yeah. I kind
I
of
mean,
figured, like, yeah,
if I was a betting man, I am a betting man. But if I was like I'm a passion better. We can go into something and I can just love the fighter, but know in my heart that he's probably going to lose.
right.
Go bet on the guy I love. That's just how I roll. But but you know, I think I hate to think that like Connor's at the end of his career.
Yeah,
I hate to think that.
Yeah.
Because Connor was like the highlight of UFC for so long. It was just like, dude, the way he would bring those crowds and the energy and how everybody gave a fuck.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everybody gave a fuck about those fights. So it was like, yeah, I don't know. And then he was in the UFC game I was just playing earlier. Like, but those UFC games suck, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't buy EA's UFC. They're terrible.
Bring back Fight Night. We need those boxing games back.
But dude, those were the OGs, man. The original Fight Night round 3 for Xbox 360, that first one that
Yep.
launched. Whew, those slow motion knockouts.
Yeah.
God damn.
satisfying. It was because you need a satisfying knockout. Like in this one, you have like 13 animations they replay. You need a satisfying knockout.
Right. I mean, you just need. I think EA is just such a cash grab company
Yeah,
anymore.
for sure.
They just want the money. I mean, there was that whole shit with the new one where like they were putting real commercials in the middle of
Yeah.
your fights.
Yep, that's what I heard
Like,
too.
is
And
this what we're doing? Like, this is where video games is you know, like you're
yeah,
like,
that's such an EA thing to do too.
fuck yeah, it is, bro. Those motherfuckers
Oh,
doing loot boxes and all that shit. Do you
listen, but
do you play a lot
what
of games?
just sports, like a little bit of 2K, UFC sometimes when inspiration hits, stuff like that. But nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy. I feel you. I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah, no, because I know you talked about it in your videos, like growing up, the video games were a big thing, even now. So, but
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
now,
it's probably my favorite form of R&R.
so
Work all day.
are you on Twitch? Are you
I
live
am,
streaming?
dude. I tried
You
for a
have
minute.
to.
I-
You have to. You're a content creator. Like
uh,
that feels
uh,
like a slam dunk right there.
all right, hear me out, bud. I feel like video games is my number one form of R&R, right?
Right.
I have these companies I'm messing with. We just like launched our protein bars, got a supplement company. I have my cookbook that I'm working on. I do 4 YouTube videos a week. I film, edit, shoot everything myself. I have clients that I email back and forth. All, you know what I mean? I do all this stuff. And at the end of the day, if I can squeeze out a little bit of time to play a game in silence,
Right. So
you know,
so that would feel like it's a job or
I'm
something. And for
on.
you, you're
Yeah, I
just
got to be
chilling.
on.
Yeah. Right.
You know, I can lay in bed in my
Yeah.
underwear and you know what I mean?
Because people expect you to be high energy, let's do it, all
100%.
that stuff, like
Yeah.
screaming at the yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you caught me at the end of the day. I'm like, and I slept like shit last night. So I'm like,
Right.
I feel like I'm like half drunk because I'm just like
Yeah.
exhausted. But it's like yeah, and you know, and I did the Twitch thing for a minute, but it was like at the end of the day, it's just like at some point, one thing I've always had trouble with is like telling myself, like allowing myself to relax.
Right.
Allowing myself to like slow down because I have like a really bad case of OCD and a really bad case of like imposter syndrome, and that I never feel like I'm doing enough. No matter what, I can
Yeah.
have, you know, the things can be going so well, but like, yeah. So it's like with Twitch, I tried it for a little bit, but it's like, you know, and even then I was doing Twitch and the people were just coming in and asking fitness questions the whole time. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
what?
that's how they see you, man. Like it's
Yeah,
always gonna be, what about my anabolic this? It's like, dude,
yeah.
that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah, you know, Twitch might be something I do down the road when I maybe step away from YouTube for a little bit, but right now, man, it's tough too. Like, I mean, we're in this podcast studio right now. I got another chair over there, another microphone. I got a whole soundboard right here, light set up. I got everything I need to do a podcast, and I would love to do one, but I'm just not sure if I could even add this to my plate right now.
Right. Well, a podcast, like to film it, like it's one thing to record it, but to film it, get the lights, like that's a big project right there. It's not nothing. You
Right.
got to edit it so that cameras on this person, you got an angle on that. Maybe you see the whole table. Like it's a big deal trying to do a video podcast.
We'll say you don't edit these though, right? These just go live.
And that's the cool thing about StreamYard. Is like you just send out a link, guest joins you. Like that's why I like it so much and it looks pretty good too if you can get your background looking right.
Right. I was gonna say I'm looking at this right now. I've watched a few podcasts with the same setup, and I'm, look, that was that big thing, man. When podcasts went, because I'm a huge podcast listener.
Yeah.
Like I do, because I spend so much time at my computer editing and writing plans and shit. So I always have a podcast in the background. And it's like when podcasts first went from in person to this type of format, I thought at first it'd be worse.
Yeah.
Like the same.
Yeah, some guys have got the hang of it, but the big thing is trying to establish a connection with the person so that it's not obvious that you're. Some of them, it's like you're on Skype with your grandmother, and you got to be
Right,
able
right.
to create that relationship where it's not like, it's got to sound natural. Otherwise, it's going to be very distracting, and it looks like you're sitting in on someone's Zoom call.
100%. Yeah. I feel like this has felt natural.
That's what I think so too. But we're gonna check the comments. Everybody's gonna say we suck and this and that. We're gonna have to tell all of them to fuck off. But no,
Yeah, they're
should be all
gonna
right.
call me an idiot. Well, I'm gonna get flamed. They're gonna be like, he smoked weed. He did not take steroids.
Right. He's gonna be like, nah, no titties, so no steroids, and yeah, it's all weed. Listen, before I let you go though, last MMA thing that sort of takes into the fitness thing. John Jones, he's doing this big thing. He's bulking, getting up to heavyweight. Released a picture where he looked a little bit chubby, and
I saw.
everyone in MMA that doesn't know about fitness freaked out. Oh my god, he's fat. And
Yeah.
I was doing a few podcasts like, listen, guys, like that's, watching all these guys in the fitness industry. You put on the weight, which means you're gonna put on some muscle and some fat. But then he's gonna cut at some point, and he's gonna look, he's gonna look good again. Like, what did you think of that stuff? Because
All
everybody was
right,
freaking out, calling him obese.
I'm trying to pull up a picture of John Jones right now.
Looking a
I
little
want to
fit.
give you a totally 100%
Yeah.
accurate John Jones. Wonder what I should type in on Google for this. John Jones heavyweight.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
All right, we'll see if I can find a picture. If not, I remember if I can see photo. John Jones looking like an absolute monster. April 6th. That's close enough. Okay, look at these pics.
Because there was one where he was hitting the bag and people were like, "Oh, he looks slow and stuff." And it's like, this is not the final
Yeah.
form, guys. Got to give him some credit.
I mean, I'm looking here. I wouldn't call him fat by any
No,
means.
he's an athlete.
Yeah, he's put on a little weight. Now I don't know what he weighs in this photo. Yeah, I'm not sure,
I
but
want to say he's in the 250s. I think that's the number they were throwing out there. He's around the 250, something like that.
okay. And then what's heavyweight? 230.
265.
He has to be
No,
265
no,
for
no.
that
So
fight.
heavyweight is 20. I think it's 206 to 265, but it seems the sweet spot's about 235, 230, that kind of range.
206 to 265. There's that much of a weight swing in heavyweight.
Yeah, because you don't have enough athletes, so it's like you got
Yeah.
to give them a good range. And then sometimes you got super heavyweight, but that's when you start getting the sloppy big dudes.
Okay, so John Jones is going to be fighting heavy. Okay,
So let me put
damn.
it to you this way. I believe Ngannou's sitting at around 263. I think Stipe was like 230, 235, just to kind of give you an idea what these guys kind of look like.
He was 263 on that
Yeah,
in that
he
fight.
was. Yeah. Oh, he was gigantic.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And he's jacked.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay. Wow. That blew my mind right there. Okay. And if Jones, yeah, I mean, typically in fitness, it's, when the goal, right, in order to actually build good quality muscle, you got to be eating more calories than your body needs in a day, which means that you're in a caloric surplus. You got extras left over, right? So it's like, in order to, let's say you have a house and you want to build a new porch onto that house, right? You can bang with your hammer as much as you want, but if you don't have the raw materials in the form of food, you're never going to be able to build that. So you got to eat. I have friends right now eating 4,500 calories a day, taking steroids, trying to get huge.
Yeah.
You're going to put on a little body fat when that happens. But the ultimate goal, if you're trying to get big and make it good weight and not just fat, you're going to eat a lot. You're going to train a lot. You're going to look a little puffy. You're going to look a little swollen compared to what you normally do. And then when it's time to cut down, which he's going to have to, well, I guess he won't have to cut down a ton, but it's like, when it's time, if he needs to be bigger and stronger, he's looking like how you like, because really, man, people look at bodybuilders, right, that are shredded. Those guys that are on the Olympia stage, you take those guys compared to like the powerlifter guys with the round barrel chests and the big bellies, way stronger.
Yeah.
Way stronger because they have that weight and that leverage to move around. And it's like when those guys are shredded on stage and completely diced, they're like the most unhealthy humans in the world at that point. Because really, you're dehydrated. You're doing so much to look like that, and you can only hold that look for like a day.
Yeah.
Before it like goes away.
And they said some things don't quite work when when they're up on that stage. So.
Oh yeah. Well, then it's to John. I mean, I watched that video of him boxing. It's hard to say. Like he looks slow. It's hard to say. It's
and
like
some of it's strategy too. Like you can't just tell your opponent like, "Hey, look how good I look."
Yeah, look how fast I am. This big. Like yeah, exactly. So it's like, if it was me, I'd be like leaning into it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know. I mean, is he going to be slower weighing more? You'd almost have to be.
It will make sense.
I mean, by how much? Who knows? Guess we'll see. I know it'll be a fight. I just hope he keeps training and doesn't stop.
Right.
Until this match happens. I just hope that's what we see.
See, that's what I wanted you to clear up because I saw people like, oh, he's eating too many donuts. Like you guys and it's not your fault. You're not into fitness. You don't really know how it works.
Right.
But it's like, look, you're going to put on some fat trying to get big. And hopefully, you would think he's going to cut at some point. And that's when you're going to see the pictures where he looks more shredded and he looks good. But it's like that, it's part of the game.
Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't call Jan. I didn't think Jan looked particularly shredded.
No.
You know what I mean? Usman has insane genetics.
Oh, dude, that dude.
Yeah. Miocic looked by no means shredded.
No.
But they're big, powerful men. Like just because you look shredded doesn't mean you're strong.
Yeah.
Like when I'm my most shredded, my bench goes down 30, 40 pounds over if I just weigh 10 or 15 pounds more. So it's like, I don't think you necessarily want him to be shredded for this.
Yeah.
And there's no way he's going to put on that much size unless he is taking steroids, which, didn't he fail?
So do you know anything about trainable? Is that something that
you've
heard of before? So
Are you Tren or Turinabol? Tur.
Turinabol, I think it's like the old Russian steroid from back in the day.
Yeah,
That's an oral steroid or something. So he got caught with that, and then they found metabolites, and now basically they said like, oh, if we find metabolites again, you're exempt because it's like it's already in your system. So with him, it's super complicated.
I feel like everything with John's super complicated.
Well, I might be getting it wrong. I say Turinabol, but it's definitely possible I've gotten it wrong. But it's something like that where if you look it up, it's like, yeah, he's got something in his system.
Yeah. Well, that kind of still leads me back to believe that like all these guys are taking, I don't know, like obviously you have your natural phenoms, your
Yeah.
genetic freaks, and not to take anything away from anybody that's ever taken steroids. I think they should make it legal. But it's like when the incentives are that high and you're the best, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
once you do steroids once, you're like, oh, this ain't shit. You know, this ain't shit. I liked how I felt. Let's do it again.
Well, I imagine it'd be hard to like feel like a superhero and then you stop it just because in fairness of the sport. I feel like that'd be very difficult to do.
Of course it would. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I took let me see. I did when I first really got into fitness, um, as like a career, especially. I did a few steroid cycles and then I ended up quitting for a year and a half or 2 years. And it was a pretty drastic difference. Like, not so much I could still get shredded, but I just lost so much just like size. I'm not a
Yeah.
very big dude to begin with. So like just some of the stuff you get accustomed to, like rounder shoulders and a bigger chest and thicker legs, shit like that. Like you just, I mean, I remember, I was hanging around at like basically what if I'm on steroids or off, like I weigh about 15 pounds more on steroids. Like same body, just add 15 pounds to it. So it's like the shit works. And I'm not even like a hyper responder. I don't think my body responds particularly well. There's some guys I know, like I had a friend back in Ohio. It was like he'd take the smallest, most little doses of steroids, and his body would just fucking blossom like a flower, just fucking widen out.
Yeah.
Like for real. So it's like yeah, I don't know. I just don't think I just don't see why you wouldn't. So I mean, I imagine a lot of people are getting away with a lot of shit. Especially you watch like that documentary, like the Icarus documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
Shit like that, where you see just the massive amounts of cheating in the Olympics and like how there's all these scandals and like,
Or
I
stuff
mean,
with the EPO and stuff like that too. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, EPO and then like EQ and the thing is, there's so many things. Like right now, I'm taking SARMs, so it's basically like it's a legal gray area. They're not necessarily illegal, I think, but there's something goofy about them. They don't want you taking them.
Right.
But they're not necessarily like you're not going to get like in steroid trouble if you call them. But I'm taking Rad 140 right now and Cardarine. And Cardarine is great for cardio. So like I do 40 minutes of cardio every single day. And when I started taking these pills, I was able to up my intensity to so fast without me getting like winded. It's really just hard to explain, but it's like I was able to up my intensity to where if I went any faster, it was getting dangerous on the stepper. Like if I tripped and like I was tripping and falling, I was going so fast on it.
Wow.
Yeah, but I could do it and I
Yeah.
could never do it not on them. So just that little
Right.
cardio bump, even something so
Yeah.
simple as that. I mean, that's an advantage. So it's like, would you not be wanting to stack? I mean, if I knew I had one of these YouTube boxing matches and they're not drug testing for it
Oh.
or something, I'm taking that. I'm taking a crazy steroid cycle. You know, I'm doing it all. Why
Yeah,
not?
might as well. Yeah, nobody's gonna stop you, and you look like you come out there. What is it with the traps going into your
Yeah.
jaw? Like, yeah, might as well.
Yeah. Why the fuck not? So yeah. Man, I got a question for you. Where are you living at right now? What state are you in?
Right now I'm in North Carolina, but you would have asked me that a few months ago. I could have given you a more interesting answer because I was in France. But yeah, now I'm in North
France. Why,
Carolina.
why were you in France?
Well, that's where I'm from originally. So I went back for college because when you come from like a different place, but you didn't grow up there, there's always that like what would have been like if I had lived there. So when I had the opportunity, because my grandparents, it was like come back, come back. So finally, I was like,
Right.
let's do it. Got to experience it, and it was cool. But it's like at the end of the day, I feel like there were more advantages being in the United States.
Yeah. What was so what you grew up in France?
Now,
Or
so I was born in France.
okay.
And then, typical immigrant story. I took my dreams and then, a couple of coins and just flowed on the Mayflower to the United. Now I was 1 years old, flew there with my parents, and then,
Okay.
kind of just grew up there.
Okay. So you flew. Okay, I get it. And then you went back. So how long did you live back in France?
3 years.
Okay. And
Yeah.
and how was that compared to here? Like what were the big differences?
It's like even the people, I feel like even the relationship with people, I feel like people are more genuine. especially outside of the United States. I feel like that's a big thing. Like, you realize your relationships with people are different, or, we
Yeah,
were talking about, like you talked about like the rebel flag, for example, people's reaction to
right.
stuff. In France, people are less soft. I feel like in the United States, it's this big thing. Everyone's offended. But in France, like,
100%.
you were to take like a regular American, put them in a group of my friends, like say we were on a smoke break at school, because that's a big thing over there. A
Yeah.
lot of people would be super offended, would have to stop listening because people don't give a fuck there. Like people, they're gonna
Yeah,
tell you how it is, and they're extremely genuine.
right. And the world needs more of that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I think we are at a, very weird point in history. I think we're at an inflection point, and I'm really like, I don't like to be hyperbolic, but I really think we're at a point in history where, like, I don't know, I don't think things are going in a good direction culturally. I think it's
Yeah.
terrible that we're canceling people left and right with fake stories, and like taking nuance out of conversations and taking context out of conversations, and the political one-sidedness of this entire country right now, and the way that something as simple as wearing a mask became like a political statement, and then
Yeah.
like, and you have half the country like terrified of a virus that is definitely real, but not even as like, it's not as deadly as everybody makes it out to be. And then you have one side, it's just insane, and we're at this inflection point where, like, I don't know, man, things feel strange, and I really think we could use more people getting punched in the face. I think that
Yeah.
would solve a lot of problems, man. I
I
really
mean,
do.
I can understand certain things, like, say someone's being racist or something like that. You want to cancel those people or get. I can understand that, but there's a point where you start nitpicking, and it's like,
100%.
you like you relax a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, or a podcast like this, you go over an hour, you might say something stupid without realizing, because you're having a conversation, and people
Right.
start nitpicking and putting up clips and,
Right.
oh, look, it's this and that. It's like, look, man, like, people are gonna say stuff, and a ton of people behind the scenes, like some people say some crazy shit when they're not in
Of
front of the
course.
camera too. So, it's a lot of what is it, throwing stones when you live in a glass house or something like
Yeah.
that for certain people.
Well, it's like, that's that whole thing, just in the podcast world or and anywhere where you just have these long conversations. I mean, you could literally slip up,
Yeah,
say something stupid, it gets clipped out. There was a 60 minutes interview earlier, and they just did this thing where it was a comparison of like this politician's exact speech, and then it was the 60 minutes version of his speech, and they chopped it up in a way that like made it seem like he was so guilty. And you watch the speech, and it's like right where they chopped it, it was like he basically just like answered their question and proved them wrong, and they just like got rid of it all and made this dude look like just he was a terrible person. And I'm like, damn, this is not good.
or look at your guy Joe Rogan, right? Like, how many times are people gonna take, like, he told people, he's like, listen, on our 3 hour long podcast, he's like, I don't even know the words that are coming out of my mouth until we all hear them at the same time. It's like
Right.
sometimes I'm something stupid, and he's been painted as so many things, and it's like
I've read
it.
the articles.
Right, but it doesn't feel like he's like that, you know what I mean? Sometimes you listen to him and you just feel like, I mean, obviously he's changed and stuff, but it doesn't feel like he's quite made out to be what people have made him to be. But I think since he's got so many political figures on his podcast, like that's where it makes things a little bit complicated with him.
Well, it's that thing you get like certain people on your podcast. Like the thing I love and respect about Joe, he's willing to have the hard conversations.
Yeah.
Like he'll have people on and he'll talk about the trans stuff, right? Whereas if we try to talk about it in any way with no, you know what I mean, with no hate, no animosity, just try to have a conversation, we can get canceled for even like mentioning something stupid. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We just might be ignorant. We just don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like he has these conversations, and just the idea of having a conversation that goes against the mainstream narrative is just like, people do not like that. And I
Yeah.
feel like we're at a weird point where like free speech is not valued in the same way that it used to be. And I think we have to be super careful as a country moving forward, because it doesn't lead to a good place. And and you watch him paint Joe in a bad spot, and it's like, I've watched and listened to so many hours of Joe. I feel like I know him.
Right. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I feel like if I met him on the street, it's like I know exactly what to say. Like, hey man, remember? It's like I don't know who you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, but it's like, there's so like I've heard so much of him, and then like to read an article where he's a transphobe, or
Yeah.
he's a racist, or he's I don't know, some of the other shit they've said
Yeah.
about him. You know what I mean? It's just like, and then but then people read it, they believe it, it gets regurgitated online into the kitchen sink that is Twitter, and just write down the dream. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
people eat it up, and it's yeah. Is
Well,
North Carolina right now? How are you guys on COVID right now? How's that going?
we got the vaccines and stuff rolling out. I think still have the masks and stuff like that, but I mean, it feels normal. I don't think we've got anything crazy. Like I know Texas, obviously, like
Oh
everybody
yeah.
was talking about Texas,
Yeehaw, buddy.
I mean, it sounded like a very Texas thing to do, right? Like, we're
Yeah.
gonna take away masks and we're gonna have UFC, like, yeah, Texas. But
Yeah.
no, I think we stayed kind of low key. I don't think we're doing anything that special.
How did you handle how was lockdown for you?
Well, the thing is, when it started, I was in France and I was in my apartment, so I was by myself. But my
Yeah.
grandparents live out in the country on this huge property. So it was
Okay.
like I just finished school, so I was like, listen, I'm gonna go live with them. But obviously my thing was like if I'm gonna live with them and they're in their 70s, I'm like, listen, I do have to be careful if I'm out there. Like I don't want to be the asshole that gets them sick and
Right, right.
who knows? I don't know enough about this thing that I can confidently say like whatever. So
Right, right.
I got lucky. I was out in the country. I got to, exercise and stuff like that. So for me, I mean, it was fine. Like I saw some people lock down their small apartments, and you're just like so thankful it's not you.
Yeah, I ran into that, man. I moved to Texas and right before COVID hit, I moved down here with like my business partner and friend. And then he moved back to Ohio in January. So it was like I was kind of by myself and I was trying to start making some friends down here to do stuff with. And like right as it started happening, like
It was
lockdown happened.
not the right time to do it.
No, and I'm in a new
Yeah,
city and I had this apartment. It's one of those apartments. It was a very nice apartment, but it had like all these amenities. You get this pool, this gym,
yeah,
all
you
this
can't
stuff.
use any of that. Yeah,
Dude, they locked all of it
yeah,
down and rent stayed the same. So I'm paying like 2,300 a month for this like box. Dude,
yeah,
talk about depressing. Dude, I was drinking,
yeah,
getting fucked up by myself. Like it was sad. And then my channel at the time was like vlogs. So I'm running
yeah.
around filming videos of me going to the gym and doing my life. And then I can't film those.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah. But in a weird way, it was almost a blessing in disguise because it made me think and go, how can I change my channel to something that I don't have to go like run around and film stuff? And I
yeah.
started like the recipes and things like that. And then boom, pivoted. And now last year was RJF and all my company's best year ever. And this year, this year's insane. So it's like, it was like a blessing in disguise. I really think COVID for a lot of people, there were people that made the most of it and they're going to come out of it better. And there's going to be some
Yeah.
people that are going to come out of it just weaker. You know what I mean? It defeated them.
I mean, you have to be careful because it like you mentioned though, if you stay like in your apartment, you're all by yourself, you're not able to see people, it's really easy to fall into a depression, right? You know what I mean? You got to make sure that you going through something like that, you have to make sure you have, not everybody's the same. You got to have your support system. You got to have what drives you. Because if you're just sitting there wallowing all day, that's extremely tough. I don't care who you are. Like that's gonna hurt you, mentally.
Yeah,
If
I
you
mean,
don't I mean, you gotta have something that drives you. You had your YouTube channel,
right,
I mean, you had something that kept you
right.
going.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine someone that lived by themselves, also lost their job, lost their
Yeah,
sense of purpose,
yeah,
lost an income. Do that. Yeah, this is another thing too. People might not agree with me on this, but like, I don't think the way we handled lockdowns was how we should have handled lockdowns. I mean, I know right at the beginning, potentially, because no one knew what this was. We thought this was like an end of the world disease. But now the data is coming out that like, dude, the average age that someone dies of COVID is higher than life expectancy. So I want to say the average age someone dies of COVID is, I think I could be a little wrong, but it was this on the Joe Rogan podcast, something like this, but it was like 78 years old is the average age someone dies of COVID, 78. And that life expectancy is like 76, maybe, or
yeah.
74. So like, and obviously people dying sucks. That's not good. But these people, the average comorbidities that people had, it was between 2.4, it was 2.6. So it was between 2 to 3 things that were pretty fucked up with you to begin with. You were obese or you
Yeah.
had
Asthma.
diabetes.
Asthma was the big one too.
Yeah, asthma, because it was a lung. The
Yeah.
COVID primarily attacks your breathing. So it's like there's that. So generally unhealthy people, and I'm not saying that unhealthy people should die, but I'm just saying that like we kind of figured out at a point that I'm okay, like we know who's the most vulnerable. Like, have you had COVID yet?
Luckily, no, and I'm in the process of getting the vaccine. So if I'm lucky, maybe I would have escaped this whole thing.
Yeah,
I say that fingers crossed, right? But hopefully,
yeah,
did you catch it?
yeah, I did.
But did you?
Oh yeah. It
Oh,
was
okay.
so my experience with it was well, when I first had it, I didn't even know I had it. And I found out I had it because I was making a recipe and I always have to make these and I'm always trying different ones and I'm
Right.
tasting them, you know what I mean? And trying to like make sure they're good, obviously. And I made these cookies, these oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. I try it and I
Oh, you can
go,
taste them.
this is bland as shit. Like,
Yeah.
and then like I was on the phone with my mom and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like I'm trying this cookie recipe. It's not good. She's like, well, do you have COVID? like, what do you mean? She's like, we shouldn't. Can you taste or smell? I'm like, hold on. So I grabbed
Yeah.
something out of the fridge and I'm like, oh no. I started tasting things. I'm like, oh no. I couldn't
Yeah.
taste or smell. First time in my life that's ever happened. So
Yeah.
that sucked. And then I want to say for 3 days I felt kind of like I was sick. Like I felt a little under the weather, but I stayed home. I didn't go to the gym, but I have like a cardio machine in my house. I just sort of 40 minutes cardio every day, filmed, shot, and edited a video every day. And then third day, I mean, it was the least sick. For me to say I'm sick, it was the least sick I've ever felt being sick, if that makes sense.
Right.
And then the taste and smell thing was a 5-day thing. Came back on the 6th day. And then, yeah, what wasn't bad. I know I'm an exception because I'm pretty healthy.
I mean, you would think, like, considering you have a whole fitness YouTube channel
Yeah.
and everything, people would
Yeah.
see you as healthier than the average guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but definitely wasn't, yeah. I mean, I've definitely been sicker,
Yeah.
for sure. So, yeah, it wasn't that bad. I don't think I'm going to get the vaccine since I've already had it.
Yeah,
So,
that one's kind of weird because I know there's a guy I work with and he got it real bad where they were basically like, if you had asthma, like you'd be dead. But his thing, he was like, I don't know how long the antibodies last. He's like, I don't know how the vaccine works. I feel like there's, it's kind of confusing, right? Like you don't quite understand. I feel like maybe they need to explain some stuff a little bit better for people to understand. 'Cause it sounds like there's a lot of confusion and a lot of people that don't
dude,
quite understand like
I
what's
wish,
going on.
I wish we had just one guy that would come out and just tell us the truth and just be like, this is what it is. I'd
Right?
feel way better about everything.
Yeah.
But it's like, at this point, like, I follow some weird conspiracy theorist guys. I probably shouldn't on
Yeah.
Twitter.
You
Like,
want to be careful.
yeah, no, there's like, these are all the side effects. Like, this happened to this person and this and this and this. And I'm like, well, shit. And then I'm also following Elon Musk and he's like, I think the COVID vaccine's totally safe. I'm like, well, shit. And then I'm here in the middle where I've already had COVID and I'm not scared of it. And I'm like, well, shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There were protesters when I went. I took the first shot, I think last week, and there were protesters. A bunch of people call me
Protesting the vaccine.
yeah, they're like, "You're a guinea pig," and naming some guy I've never heard of died, and I'm sitting there like, well, I'm already kind of nervous because at the end of the day, it's still whether you want to get it or not, like it's still kind of a a scary thing a little bit. 'Cause you do have some questions, so it's like everyone called me a guinea pig on my way in. Like I didn't feel great about this
That's
thing.
nuts,
Considering
bro. That's
I didn't,
wild. I didn't see. I
yeah,
haven't heard anything about that protest. That's
yeah.
why you would think that'd make the news.
I mean, when I say protests, like I know you imagine like riots and stuff. It was like a
Yeah.
couple guys with some signs, neon
Oh,
signs, call me a guinny pig. Like I'm not worried about some old man calling me a guinea pig.
like
It's like get out of my way,
it
man.
sounds more
Like
like a QAnon protest.
yeah, yeah. It's like but I'm not. I'm a big guy. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, get out of my way, man. Like,
Yeah.
and plus it's an old guy. It's like I'm doing it for you, dick. Like,
Yeah.
part of this to protect people like you. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you protesting me? Like, don't call me a guinea pig.
Well, dude, that's the crazy thing about this whole virus, man, and everything with it is like we have not gotten a clear picture of it. And I just wish we had like Dr. Fauci's a moron. So like he's like first he's like no masks, then he's like, oh, do masks. I lied to you about masks. And then like there's data that says masks are really not that effective. There's a lot of data saying the lockdowns were actually worse than not locking down because now there's reports coming out that the virus, not intentionally, but it was originally built in a lab and leaked out. Joe's talked about this a lot. And there's actual like the director of the CDC, I believe, or the former director of the WHO, something like that for sure, came out and he said he believes that there's a high probability the virus came out of a lab. So locking everybody inside. That's why, like when they say you're outside, there's virtually zero spread of
Yeah,
the
that's what I
virus.
heard. Like as long as you socially distance and stuff like that. I heard like virtually
Well, no,
like
dude, not even socially distanced. Look at those protests we had. Look at those streets over the summer in 2020 after everything happened with the George Floyd thing.
yeah,
It's like those people were crammed together. There was no massive spikes after that.
yeah.
If it spreaded like that. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I just wish that we lived in a world where you would just get the facts first, or maybe not the fact, but like the best intentions, and then not this politicized thing where it's like one side tells you this, the other side tells you this, and you're just left in the middle of this power grab, and you're like, what the fuck? What?
Well, so for I'm in a unique perspective. I was in France for a good chunk of it, and France had this issue where everything's happening fast, right? Everyone's trying to figure it out, and France is like, we're seeing people wearing masks, and they're like, don't do it because it's dangerous. And their thinking was like, because you don't know good mask etiquette, so like you wear it and then you grab it, and you're touching it wrong and stuff. And they're like,
Yeah,
if anything, like you might catch it even more for wearing it. So everyone's like, all right, so no masks. And then like a month later, like, all right, everyone needs to wear a mask now. And the problem when you do something like that is that now people are like, well, hold on. You said it was dangerous, now it's safe. And then you
Yeah, you're
create
right.
like, and now there's no trust. And, France had a big problem where they were like, everyone needs to be locked down. France, we're known for like, we don't like authority. So a lot of people, it's like, you're locked down. No, I don't want to.
Yeah,
So I think stuff like that, right? Like telling people it's dangerous and then changing your mind. That's where the big problems are. Like and obviously everyone's trying to figure it out in real time, but
right.
stuff like that, that's where you start having the issues. Cause then people are like, well, hold on, who can we trust on this one? And it seems like that's what happened in America, like an extreme version of like, well,
Yeah.
which one is it? I thought this was the land of the free.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
that's
seems,
actually that's a really good point because
yeah,
now that I'm thinking about it, you came out of the gate and you said that this thing was going to kill so many people, like potential. I think, dude, the original numbers were like millions of people, right? Like, and it was going to be terrible. We're thinking this is like the next plague. So obviously everybody's scared. I remember those first few days when that shit was hitting the news before lockdowns, but it was
yeah,
like the first few days and how the creepy vibes that were out.
yeah,
I remember like going out and it just being like you had this vibe like the world was ending. You go to the store, all the toilet paper's gone,
yeah,
everything's gone,
right,
shelves are empty. You're like, is this the end? Is this how it all goes down?
yeah.
And then you readjust and then like there's not as many deaths as you think. Then there's like weird reporting with the deaths. It's like, all right, there's dying of COVID and there's dying with COVID. Like
Yeah.
you could have died of a heart attack, but you
That
also had COVID. Was COVID,
yeah.
did it exacerbate it? Was it the primary cause? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? There's
that was
lots.
confusing. That was really confusing when they were doing stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you even had records of it. And I don't think it was nefarious by any means,
No.
but they just, when a pandemic is happening like this, they set these protocols in these hospitals where all of them have to test for COVID regardless. And if it's tested as COVID, it gets locked down. So it's like, there was cases of a guy on like a motorcycle accident that passed away, had COVID, and it's like COVID death. And it's like, wow, shit. So then,
But see, stuff like that is what creates the issues because now
100%.
people don't trust anymore, and they're like, "Oh, you need to do this, you need that to be safe." Like, well, hold on. And I think
Yeah.
that, and it's stuff like that that creates the problem.
Well, it's like, yeah, I think fundamentally it does come down to trust.
Yeah.
Because if you ask me if I trust our government right now, I couldn't tell you 100%.
Well,
You know
the
what I mean?
vaccine's like that too, right? Like a lot of it is like, listen, you have a lot of questions, but how many people trusted enough to do it and stuff like that? For me, like, right, I took the first dose. I didn't just, one guy told me he was like, the best vaccine is whichever one you get. I was like, nah, fam. Like, I'm gonna do
Yeah,
my
I'm good.
research. I said, look, there's three of them. I'm gonna do my research and I'm gonna try to get the best one. It's like, hold on, you hear one where it's like it's effective if it feels like it, another one where it's like it might be effective, but you're gonna be sick for 2 weeks. It's like, hold on, like, but I feel like it is important for people to do their research and just like the people, like if you only get your information from social media, that's not the way to go either. Like I think it's
No.
important. Do your research, try to figure it out a little bit for yourself. But you know, for me, my big thing was, I was with my grandparents for a while. Then I came back to the United States with my mom and stuff. My thing was like, listen, I just don't want to catch it and spread it to these people because that, it'd make me an asshole. So I was always like, if I can avoid catching it, just, do what I got to do. Then, might
Right.
as well. And plus, like if I can avoid being sick, I mean, might as well.
Yeah. That's, I just wonder obviously like, I would hate to get someone sick and have them like actually die from it. Like, if I got my mom sick or my dad
But
sick.
see, but I think that's the way to do it. Like I heard one guy at work, big redneck conspiracy guy, lives in the middle of the woods, and he was like, I don't want to wear a mask because the government tells me to, and he was like, you're wearing it because they told me to. I was like, no, I'm wearing it because I make the decision that I don't want to get myself sick, spread it to other people. I'm like, like make your own decisions at some point. You know what I
Right.
mean? I felt like, I understood what he meant, but it's like you're looking at it the wrong way, man. Like if you're a grown ass man, like,
Right.
you don't need someone to tell you, like maybe do your research or figure out why you're doing it. But it's like, no, I'm not doing it because they told me to. I'm doing it. I have my reasons why I did it. And it made sense to me. Like I didn't need, Uncle Sam to tell me I needed to do this.
Well, so what I would say is that the problem though, I think it comes down to is like the shaming that happens. So I think that like if you want to wear a mask and you want to save like, spare your family from it, you're around them a lot. Yes, that's amazing. Do that. If I live by myself and all I got's a dog, and then I'm like, and then I know the only place that I really go that has a lot of old people that I wear a mask in religiously every time is the vet. There's always a bunch of old people in the vet with their, you know what I mean?
Yeah, good point.
But when I go to the gym, I'm like, okay, if you're coming to the gym and people are sweating all over everything, leaving their germs on everything, if you're comfortable enough, because I think at some point too, there's the accountability goes both ways. And that like, if you feel your immune system's compromised, if you are in that older age group, if you are scared, maybe you should take a little precaution too. And maybe you should stay away from the gym instead of all of us packing in here. I mean, we're at the gym.
No, yeah, I see that because at some point it's like, you're asking all of us to be responsible, which, that's fair, but it's like those people got to be responsible too. Like you can't count on not getting it because we're all responsible. Like at some
Yeah.
point you have to make a decision to help keep yourself safe as well. And I mean,
Yeah, because
I get that.
eventually society has to go back to normal. Like, I don't want to wear a mask for the rest of my life. I
Oh yeah, I
couldn't.
get that. I get that.
You know what I mean? I just couldn't. I can't. I barely wear one now. I get away with it as many times as I can. I walk into restaurants now with no mask on. If they ask me, I have one in my pocket, I put it on. A lot of people don't ask, but there's some stores that have company policies. The one I always, like I said, the vet, I always wear one in there. But I just feel like at some point we got to look at this virus for who it is really affecting. And we need to, and like I said, it comes down to the shaming thing. Like that dude tried to shame you for wearing a mask, right? But then people try to shame people on the opposite end if they don't wear a mask. Like, you just want to kill old people. It's like, well, no, maybe I just, that was really on my mind. I fucking hate, I just don't like wearing the mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I think I'm fine. I'm willing to take the risk, but I think that when we put this emphasis on everybody's responsible for everybody else, I mean, it's a noble sentiment, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, how long can we do this? Like Dr. Fauci saying we'll never shake hands again. Like we'll never go back to shaking hands again, and we could wear
Well,
masks.
yeah, but some of it's a little extreme too. Like I feel like some of it, it's like, look, we're gonna get back to normal. It starts with the vaccine. I'm not sure if that's enough because you hear conflicting information, but it's like at some point, like I feel like you're just trying to scare people when you say extreme stuff like that. Like
Well,
it has to get back to normal at some point.
right. And I hope it's with the vaccine. I hope so. And
Right.
I
Yeah.
hope
Because
that
otherwise, it's like I don't know how.
everybody that wants it can get it, and everybody can feel safe. And then we
Right.
can return to normal because the media played a massive role in hyping this thing up to the next level. And they realized their views were higher. If you got people scared, you got people clicking on your articles. I mean, dude, you look at it now, there's like the Brazilian strain, the
Yeah.
next strain. You might need booster shots for every 3 months, like all this crazy shit. And it's
But
all just
you're
fear-based.
scaring people at this point, or even some of the sources. Like, you really think the Sun UK is my source for what I want to know about the virus? Like, I'm definitely not
Right.
going to a tabloid for information on stuff.
But like, think about it. All the stuff I've said on here, where like the actual like data that you can look up that's approved by the CDC is like, what's the number one factors? It's obesity. It's what are the number one age groups? I think there was some crazy statistic. Like if you're under the age of 20, like it's like 0.0001% chance of a fatal interaction with this. And then like another really low percentage of even knowing that you ever had it. You're asymptomatic. So it's
Right.
like, where's the good news? When does the news come out and give us the good news about it? You know what I mean? Like,
Okay. Well, let me push back with this because you're looking at it at an extreme point, right? Because your thing is like, so you have people that die, right? So what about
right.
the people that get it, but they have the long lasting, like, for example, this guy at work that had it real bad, like, to this day, if he goes up the stairs, like, he's got to stop for 10 minutes because he can't breathe anymore. What about those guys that do have the heart issues, that do have the long term? Like, for me, you got to factor those people in too. Like, it can't just be deaths, if that makes sense.
True. So I listened to the Alex Berenson on Joe Rogan podcast. I listened to that podcast too much, but he seemed to think, with everything he looked into, I haven't seen a lot of data on that, and I've heard about COVID, like what they call those COVID long haulers.
Yeah.
Right. So I've heard some stories about it, and Alex Berenson seemed to think that a lot of the long haul stuff was at least a very high percentage of it wasn't even real and was more psychosomatic. And that when the people were reporting the issues that they were having with it, they resembled depression like symptoms. And when you put things into people's head that there's potential for symptoms after it, and then you pair it with a lockdown and you're already kind of depressed, it kind of mirrors that. Now, I'm not saying your friend isn't having something real happen. I'm just saying
Yeah.
what I heard was
Right.
that the majority of them are like that. And to have those type of interactions are very, very small. Same thing with saying in a vaccine, you go, well, people are dying of the vaccine. It's like, well, yeah, but how many?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a very low number. So I don't know how many people. I mean, if there's COVID long haul symptoms, I don't got them.
Right.
Anybody I know that's gotten the virus hasn't told me that they've gotten them. So it's but too, that comes down to personal experience, because it's like I got COVID and I kicked the shit out of it.
Well, that's the crazy thing, right? Is that nobody has the same experience, right? And that I think that's the thing where you're like, what the fuck is this thing? Like everyone has different things. Like some guys, no taste, no symptoms. I
Right.
know I had a friend, his girlfriend got it, and they were still sleeping in the same bed and stuff, and he didn't get it. You know what I mean? So it's so
Right.
weird to me. There's so many question marks where it's like, man, all I know is I ain't trying to catch that shit. I ain't trying to spread that shit. That's for me. That's like that's the easy one.
Yeah, yeah, I've already gotten it. I don't know. We just strange time to be alive, man. I
Yeah,
want I want shit to go back to normal.
I
I
feel
want
that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean being in Texas, it's basically back to normal almost. But that's the thing too, man. It's like Texas, we like out of all the states, we've been like the most like us in Florida, we've been like the most, we open quick.
It's
We
the
open things back
stereotype.
quick. Yeah, we
You
could
guys
get
answered
back.
all the stereotypes right there.
Yeah. So we could get back to we got back into everything quick. Got back in the gym pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it's not even for like my selfish reasons that I say this stuff. I say it because like I just don't know what keeping kids out of schools and keeping people from being social. I'm in a rare position in my life where I'm pretty comfortable being alone. Like I'm pretty fine with that. I know a lot of people aren't. I know this shit kills a lot of people. And I feel bad for I think we're going to look back on this, could be right, could be wrong. But I think we're going to look back on this whole entire thing as like a massive mismanagement of what we should have done. I think that the lockdowns were primarily after we had more data, a mistake. I think that forcing everybody into isolation is a mistake. The suicide numbers are through the roof. The overdoses are through the roof. Depression, anxiety. I think it's all just, I don't know. I just feel like when we look back on this, it's going to be something. I mean, we're living through a historic event right now.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? When you think
Yeah,
about it, like, history books
yeah,
gonna talk about the shit we went through.
yeah. And then the great pandemic of the 2020, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's going to go by, and then it'll take 20, 30 years for history to really look back on it and see the effects because it's going to take a while. These kids are going to grow up. Kids miss their graduations.
yeah.
Kids were yeah, like there's
I missed my graduation. I graduated college, and I had to do that from, on Twitter, like, "Hey, I graduated today." Like, that was my
yeah.
graduation. Yeah,
Yeah, and you're just missing out on crucial shit, and it's like I feel
yeah,
bad for those people, and I'm not sure if the way we handle this is the right way, and I'm not really not even sure why I care so much, to be honest, because it really doesn't affect me that like at all. Like to
yeah,
be honest, my life's been pretty unaffected by it, but I don't know.
yeah.
Crazy times we live in, brother.
I get that, man. You know what? Let me say the one positive thing about masks that I think could trickle down is, in
Okay,
Asian culture, they have this big thing where,
they do.
if someone's sick, they wear a mask.
Yep.
I I like that, man. I really like if you're sick, you keep it so you don't infect it. I like that, man. I know not everybody likes masks, but there has to be like, someone has a cold and they wear a mask to make sure they don't spread it to you. I like that a lot. And for me, that's
Yeah.
like, obviously it's a choice, right? But if some people could start doing that even once we get over it, I would have no problem with
No,
that at all. I like that.
100%. Yeah. No, I forget where I heard. So I remember I've always been a big fan of Japanese culture.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of movies. You always see the one random guy in the crowd with a mask on. I was like, what is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's going on? But once I heard why they did it, no, dude, I think that's dope. Like
Yeah.
if you're sick and you got symptoms and you got to go out and be about, put a mask on.
But here's the thing though, is that like people will see you, you know what I mean, and instantly know you're sick. Like you're taking a risk too. Like you're putting yourself out there, but it's a extremely unselfish thing. That I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's like it's like a kind, positive gesture.
Yeah.
And maybe we switch our mask stuff over to that here where it's like, all right, if you think you might have COVID or because the problem now is going to be like, what happens when you just get the flu? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many cases of the flu have we heard? Remember, it used to be I got the flu. Oh, that sucked. I was sick for like a week. I had the flu real bad. I don't know one person that's gotten the flu or a cold. It's all been COVID,
Yeah.
which is wild. So it's like, are we ever going to have a cold or a flu again? At least
Yeah.
mentally for people, or are they just going to be like, fuck, I got COVID?
Well, that's the thing too, is mentally it's gonna be hard. Like even if you start sneezing too much and stuff, like, oh god, people were joking, like, if I cough, it's the Rona, but mentally it's gonna fuck some people up too.
Well, I think a lot of it's I watched a freak out video today of some girl that was on an elevator and an elevator stopped at a floor and another girl was trying to get in. They both had masks on. The girl in the elevator wouldn't step out of the elevator until the other girl backed all the way against the wall and let her walk out and by because she was scared she was going to get corona. And she starts crying in the elevator, punching the walls, freaking out. It's like, dude, if you tell the wrong people the wrong shit and get the wrong people too scared, they're gonna that's what you end up with.
Yeah.
Right there. And being that, like, And when you're that stressed out and your cortisol levels are that high, like I don't think if you get it, it's going to be a good reaction. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
think it's going to be really bad and you psych yourself out and you're stressed out, I mean, stress kills, I just don't think it's going to be good. So I think if we do anything, if we get another pandemic, we need to be a little more positive about it, because there's
Well,
good
yeah.
stories too. Like we hear about people that die, but there's like shit ton of people recover. There's a lot of stories like mine. Like, yeah, wasn't that bad?
Yeah.
Give people the full spectrum of what's going on.
Well, I just hope we're better prepared for it, right? Because a lot of it was just like, hold on, we're trying to figure this shit out as it's happening. But now it's like, all right, we had the extreme version. Like maybe it should have happened again. Like we're going to be a little bit more prepared for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it comes back to that trust thing too. Like I feel like this fucked up the trust for everyone. Some people say it's the presidents, it's the people, it's whatever.
Right.
If there's a trust issue, you're gonna have to find a way to sort of figure that out. Because having the mask thing even turn political for me is crazy. Because that's for me that wasn't the root of that. You know what I mean? The root of it was
Right.
like, hey, ain't nobody trying to catch that shit, and then it turned into way more than that. So that to me,
Well,
it's like hopefully they handle it better the second time around.
it happened in an election year,
Yeah,
which is
that's
the
true.
worst year it could have happened.
Yeah,
Shit always gets turned up to 11 in an
yeah,
election year.
yep,
So it's like it gives both sides the opportunity. That's why I hate politics, because they don't give a fuck about just the regular people at
yeah,
all. Like at all, as much as they pretend they do not. It's all about winning and dunking on the competition. So it's
yeah,
like that's why it became politicized. If this would have happened maybe like the year that a president got elected, or the shit's already done, they got 4 years to coast,
right.
could have been a completely different thing.
Didn't
But
it kind of feel like a boxing match, the whole election thing? Like I feel like
dude,
this is the buildup to a UFC fight. Sometimes you're
dude,
like, I can't believe what this has turned into.
yeah, dude, you're like rooting for a team or rooting for another team, and then the other team gets a sneak uppercut, and you're like, fuck, there's no way we'll recover. And then something else comes out, and you're like, yes, the laptop, and then shit just got, shit just got like,
Oh man,
it was insane. And then watching my friends, dude, I had friends fall for this QAnon shit,
yeah.
bro, deep in it,
Oh
telling
yeah.
me about it. I'm like, dude, this isn't gonna happen, right? And they got to a point, I was getting these phone calls, bro. I was getting these phone calls. And he'd be like, yeah, so here's what's going on now. And they're telling me this shit. And I'd be like, I just kind of like, yeah, yeah. Well, just brace yourself for when it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? I kids have,
Yeah.
and then it
I
happened, and the Capitol happened, nothing happened. And these people are just like, oh man, I got to rethink some stuff. I'm like, dude, I've been telling you that for months.
I had to take a break from Facebook just from all the crazy conspiracy theories. It's like, I know who you are outside of it, dude. It's like, are you really falling for some of this crazy stuff? Like, if I saw something that sounded crazy to me, I'd look it up, try to
100%.
find reputable websites, try to figure out, okay, what's the truth? How did this start? Even the crazy stuff like pedophiles in Hollywood and stuff like that.
Right.
You're like, all right, what is this? Where is this coming from? And then you see the roots
Right.
of everything, and you're like, all right, guys, shut the fuck up. Like, chill out. Like, like your heart's in the right place, right? You feel like if there are pedophiles, we want to get rid of them.
Of
I
course.
get it. Your heart's in the right place, but it's like if you look up where it comes from, it's like, nah, dude, like that's how they get it's deeper than that. So, it for me, I feel like not enough people do their research, and too many people are trusting, Karen on Facebook putting up a picture with a Minions meme.
Right. Like reading the headline, or reading like,
Yeah.
reading the one word and not taking the deep dive into it, which is, going back to COVID, it's like just talking about like, all like there's so many statistics out there to look at. Right. And then you
Yeah.
can read those and make up your own mind on how crazy deadly you think this virus is.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of people, like when the pedophiles in Hollywood, like they're going after Tom Hanks like crazy. And then
Yeah.
they're like, he posted a picture of a boot on his Instagram. I'm like, that's the smoking gun?
Yeah.
Picture of a boot on the sidewalk. And then they're like, oh, they swapped his body out when they flew him back from, he had COVID. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. It's like, hold on, guy. Like, it sounds crazy. And, you couldn't do a quick Google search, figure out how some of this stuff started. Like, you'd have all your answers right there.
Well, dude, and they were talking about all the social media censorship. And they're like, they're censoring us. They know it's true. I'm like, no, it's because there's an army of you crazy motherfuckers. And then
Yeah.
dude, like 90% of the people at the Capitol were fucking QAnon. And it's like,
Yeah.
they fell for this shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
so like, as much as I think censorship sucks, I'm like, dude, maybe that was the right call right there. Cause that
Yeah. Or
shit's like crazy.
the
That shit
fact
crazy.
checking. Yeah, the fact checking on social media too. But what I like is, sometimes they'll tell you it's false, but you can look up like, here's why it's false. Here's the real explanation. That way, you obviously look it up for yourself too. But now you can actually have like a little bit, you can understand it. But some people, it was like, you know, Tom Hanks has a zoo full of kids. All right, we riot. It's like, hold on,
Yeah.
man. Like, you're not at least a little bit curious to know why people are saying that. Like, you don't want to look a little bit deeper, and then you find out it's like that's not what's happening. that's what they're telling you so that you can get their movement going. It's like, hold on, like the people you're claiming are sheep, like you're kind of the one doing
Yeah,
sheep
dude.
things, man, when
Yeah.
you don't do your research.
You're bad right along with them. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just think I think we have like information overload. There's too much information coming in all the time.
right.
No reasonable, sane person has enough time to really deep dive into everything being thrown at them. And a lot of it
Yeah.
comes down to a judgment call. And I think your average person just has terrible judgment.
But the pedophile thing, that it was smart because like who's gonna say like, oh great, that's awesome, what a great thing to have pedophiles, right? Like
Oh yeah, for sure.
like that's how they get you. Like all these people are like, we need to do something about it. It's like, your heart's in the right place. You know what I mean? Like sure, like we all hate them. You know what I mean? I
For
like where your
sure.
head's at, but it's like, look deeper into it, man. It's like because it's not what you think it is.
Yeah, you think it's Woody from Toy Story that's behind this whole thing?
Yeah, it's like, nah, man. Like nobody's eating babies to sacrifice for a
Oh,
ritual
dude,
on that's like
that
it's
like, yeah, that got wild, and it was like
yeah,
Madonna was implicated, and because like for me, it was like crazy. Like, is it like I'm like this could have been a movie? Like, this is
yeah,
wild. You know what I mean? But then other people are taking it at fate, like just literal. Like, this is actually what's happening, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh yeah. I always said that, man, when that Capitol riot shit happened. Like
yeah.
that looked the saddest part about that to me was when I watched it and the entire crowd. This is gonna sound bad. It looked like my hometown. Real talk.
Yeah.
Everybody that was there, from the clothes to the way they talked, looked like they were plucked out of my hometown. I was like, fuck.
It's like, no.
No shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. And like, dude, a lot like that's where a lot of that QAnon shit, you know what I mean? Kind
Yeah.
of like, I'm not saying it's all from my hometown, but I'm saying that like just that
Yeah.
type of population is where that shit's really spreading. And I was like,
Yeah.
fuck. That
But
wasn't a good look.
but it's the thing, people don't consume news. Like I take my grandfather, for example, he'll look up headline stuff, but he'll watch a lot of news like on TV and he'll watch different channels, get it from different sources. And it's like that's how they used to consume news. But today it's like you see on social media, like, oh, Woody from Toy Story is attacking kids, and you're like, that's bad. It's like, hold on, like, are you not looking into stuff a little bit more? You're not getting it from different sources, trying to
Right.
understand a little bit more. Like, that's
And
crazy to me how quickly stuff spreads and how gullible some people are.
when it's the like I said, it's the cartoon profile pictures within the replies, linking
Yeah,
pictures and photoshops and deep fakes and
yeah,
links to websites that are so poorly constructed. Like
yeah,
that should be the first. If you go, I went to one, I Googled on a DuckDuckGo, like QAnon, just to like go
yeah.
to a website. I'm like, let me see what this shit is.
There's a
And you
typo in
go
the
and it's
title.
the worst looking put together shit spelled wrong.
Yeah,
Everything's terrible. And I'm like, you take one look at this. If you're not proofreading your article at least, and like the is spelled wrong, we
yeah,
have a problem.
yeah.
All right. Like, and they're drinking the blood to stay alive forever.
It's
Like,
like
oh,
you don't think that's crazy enough to try to figure out why that's out there. Like it just seemed crazy the amount of people where somebody shared like put a picture of something on Facebook, like Hillary Clinton smiling or something, and then the big caption, I saw everybody sharing it. I'm like, dude, who is this person? Like, why are you sharing what she's saying? Like, is
right.
this the source you trust? Like, I'm not saying I'm gonna look it up every time. I'm like, man, that's some crazy shit, and keep going. Like, I'm not
Yeah,
about to be like,
100%.
yes, random person saying stuff. Oh, she is so right, and they're trying to silence her. It just,
You got to pick and choose where you put your
yeah,
energy. You know what
yeah,
I mean? That's why, at the beginning I was talking about like I should probably get rid of Twitter, but it's like I try
yeah,
things that eke out my energy. I have a pretty big like I don't have notifications on my phone.
yeah,
Like I only see texts. I don't get like Instagram and anything.
right.
I don't read comments. Distraction free as much as I can because I feel like I'm much happier when I'm not reading shit like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Shit
I
like
took a
that.
break
Just
from
like,
Facebook. I couldn't do Facebook anymore because I was like, it got too crazy. Like, and I don't even like politics. I like MMA. I like other
yeah,
stuff.
100%.
I'm gonna stick
Dude,
with that stuff.
I didn't know a thing about politics until the coronavirus hit and we were
Right.
all locked down.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
that's when it made you pay attention.
Yeah.
And then and it was like I went my whole life. I couldn't have told you what a Republican or a Democrat was.
Yeah. It's like I don't care. Like that's
I didn't
and
give a
plus
fuck.
I'm French. I can't even vote. So it's like I don't care about any of that shit.
Yeah.
Like why do I know so much. I don't care. That's not I'm not interested in that.
But everybody turned it into a fucking team sport.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
and dude, I had friends like my brother and some of his friends are like just people that I know that like quit hanging out with each other over
Yeah.
political differences.
Yep.
And I'm like, when I was growing up, my dad always said, like, I'd ask my dad, like, who you voting for? And he's like, none of your business. I'm like, oh shit.
Right, or even the teachers wouldn't tell you, like, if you asked them, like, they'd get mad at you, like, "Oh, I'm not revealing that." Like, this is a
Right.
private and now people go out wearing shirts and hats, and
Right.
it's not a team sport, you know what I mean? Like, this affects things differently than if,
And
Braves win something, you know what I mean? Like,
well,
it's
and like heaven forbid you accidentally put on a MAGA hat, not knowing the implications that might get you killed. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like, yeah, it was fuck. Been a wild, that was a wild year. It feels like it lasted forever, but looking back on it, it was so uneventful that it went by like a blink of an eye. Like if I just think about like the time, like what actually happened, because
Yeah.
I don't know how you got back here in the middle of with everything quarantined. They let
Dude.
you travel?
It's weird. So, like, in August I came back in August, and so the big things I went out, got a COVID test, got the antibody test, everything, put it in my backpack, it's ready to travel. So I'm like, listen, I'm COVID free. I'm wearing the mask the whole ride. I'm doing what I got to do, all that stuff. And I'm expecting that people are gonna ask for stuff and they're gonna check my fever. Nobody gave a shit. Like, I thought I was going on this big James Bond trip. Like, it was literally like a regular trip, but with a mask on. I
Damn.
was ready. Somebody was like, "Do you have COVID?" No. All right, man, you're free to go. It's like, seriously, man. Like, you don't want to maybe check a temperature, pretend to see if
Yeah.
I can take. Like, really? But I don't know. It's I was expecting something huge. I was like, "Here's my green card. Here's my I'm COVID free. I can smell. I can smell this. But
Yeah.
it was weird to me that it really seemed like it was like, you got COVID. No. All right, man. You have a good time.
So you came back in from outside of the country and no one gave a fuck.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like they gave me a packet, like, "Do you have COVID?" And on the packet, it's like, "Here are the symptoms." I said, "No." All right.
That's it.
Seriously, you're gonna take my word for it, man?
Just
Like,
took your
are you?
word for it.
It's like, are you really gonna? It was crazy to me because I was ready. I had all these documents, all this stuff. My grandfather printed off all these things. Like, we had a doctor. Like, I was ready. I was ready. I was like, I'm responsible. No, nobody gave a fuck. I mean, it was crazy to me how little people gave a fuck.
Jesus Christ. See, that sounds exactly the opposite of what I've been hearing
Yeah.
about traveling with COVID.
Well, I think now it got worse. But I mean, August, we were at a good, middle point. But
Wait, August. So August of last year.
August 2020, yeah. I mean,
You'd
we were
think
in the middle of it.
you'd
So,
think we'd be better now with
yeah,
travel.
yeah. It sounds like it only got worse. So I
Maybe
don't
they
know,
got
man.
lucky.
That's what I'm
I don't
thinking.
know.
And the
Maybe they're
flight was
fans of the podcast.
oh,
Just waving through. Waving through.
it's like, you let young Joe Rogan with hair get on the plane. Come
Yeah.
on, man. Get out of here. It's like, "Oh, you ever do DMT? Sit, go ahead, have a seat." Nah.
We got the private jet heated up for him.
Right. It's like, "Jamie, did you pull
Upgraded.
up the jet for him?" It's like, "My guy." Nah, I don't think anybody gave a fuck. But
How long you been doing this podcast?
episode 29, I started November.
Okay.
Something like that? Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you have, like, these goals of what you wanna do. Like, you try to think crazy. I want my own studio and this and that, and you're like, "So
Right.
how do you get there?" You don't get there by saying, "Give me a studio." You get there by doing with what you got, and then if you're good enough, you'll get opportunities. And,
100%.
now I'm booking, bigger guests such as yourself. I'm getting more and more fighters, stuff like that. So, it's a fun thing to do.
Well, I will say, what you did when you reached out and then, like when I told you my schedule and you said, well, how about this? I'll be available for you when
Right.
you're ready. That dude, I had another guy try to get me on a podcast and it was like one of these things we were scheduled for like maybe 6, but my video was running over and I hit him up like, hey, like I'm probably going to be like an hour late. He's like, oh man, okay, we'll push it to next week. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, sure, whatever. And then like I think 10 minutes had gone by and then something switched and I don't know what it was, but it was like literally I was ready like 10 minutes. So I texted him like 10 minutes later, like, hey man, I can still make it for 6 actually. He goes, oh man, we're still gonna have to do it next week. And I'm like,
Yeah.
nope, we're never doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, part of the hustle, man, is like consistency, booking people, having good. I mean, you're good at this.
I
Like
appreciate that, man.
you're easy to talk to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You make people feel comfortable. Like it's weird. I don't do like any podcast, but it's weird like being on here and I'm looking how long we've been on here.
That's crazy.
Dude, we just been talking and like
Right.
I get to
Yeah.
this point where I'm just in the conversation. I don't feel like I'm like trying to, like, so you got that going, you got the talent. I like this little setup.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, this is how I was going to start mine. Exactly how I'm looking at yours. And it's like, just consistency and then getting people back and, yeah, just getting the big people on and just like not stopping and having good conversations and just asking the tough questions, being honest, being yourself. And, No, you're like I said, the way that you went around, I'm like, I'll be available. Like the way you did that was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm there.
Well, I mean, you got to think too. I've been interviewing fighters for years now, so I know how it works. With like sometimes, I got Mighty Mouse, who I believe fights tonight, Demetrius Johnson. One time, I got a text and he's like, "Hey, he's ready for you now," and I was like, "You know what? Fuck it. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna get everything set up. Let's do it." Like I know with fighters, it's like the more hoops you get people to jump through, and they're like, "Look, man, I don't even know who you are." But that's why with you, you were like, "I get off at this time." And I was like, "You know what? If we can bang it out today, because I know he might be free, let's just go ahead and do it."
Right.
And you were like, you gave me your phone number and everything. I was gonna
Yeah.
tell you. I was like, some people are weird about it. I was gonna be like, look, if you want to just text me and when you're ready, let's go ahead and do it. Like for me, even the app I sent you, right? You click a link and you're on. Like the less
Right.
hoops you have to jump through, the easier it is. Cause like you don't know me anything. Like you reach out, like who the fuck is Lucas Grandsire? So it's like, I try to make it easy and for everybody.
Yeah. And it's, the hassle free. I click the thing.
Yeah.
I'm in here.
Yep.
That's, yeah, is this considered over Zoom?
No, I say Zoom because if I have to explain,
Okay.
but basically Zoom. I mean, Zoom is the same thing with a few extra hoops. This one's like you click a link, boom, welcome to the show, my guy. So
Yeah.
the Streamyard,
I,
Streamyard.
I like this. So yeah, it was, now it was seamless. I clicked a button. I'm in here. My stuff. Yeah. My audio issues are totally on my end, but,
Yeah,
no, it's been, yeah, it's been seamless. Been a great
yeah.
time. Do you have any, how often are you doing it?
Listen, man, every time I can book someone, I do it. So
Okay.
sometimes you'll have a fighter where it's like, I can do it tomorrow. Boom, we're doing a podcast tomorrow. With you, it was like, I can do today. Boom, let's do it today. I have a comedian because, I'm trying to branch out of MMA
Of
a little
course.
bit.
Yeah.
And
Dude, talk to everybody, bro.
yeah,
I mean, I think
yeah,
if there's one thing, if there's one, like, I wouldn't be scared in the podcast realm, for instance. I think that, yeah, talk to everybody.
yeah,
Like, if they like MMA, that's awesome. You have some common ground, but like, I would just go into it and just like talk to people about, we talked about fitness, steroids, like all sorts of shit,
yeah.
dude. And,
Well, with you, I plan on talking about anabolic recipes the whole time. And it just, the way it flowed, I was like, let's go with it. I think that's the most important thing. If it flows a certain way,
right.
just go with it. We've talked about COVID for an hour. I'm not going to sit there let's get back to UFC. Now, this is what we're talking about and let's go with it. This is what the
Yeah.
conversation. And I think people want to feel like they're the third man in there that isn't saying anything. You know what I mean? I think people want to
100%.
feel like, and I take a lot of inspiration from like a Joe Rogan where he says, we talk about what I want. It's the guest that I want. And he's like, and it's a conversation and you feel like you're there with us, even though you're not.
Right.
And I think, you obviously don't want to copy him, but you want to take what's good and then leave what's bad and then kind of make it your own as well.
100%. Yeah. That's, if there's one thing about the Joe Rogan podcast, it feels like you're just sitting at a table with friends, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's, especially in the pandemic times and maybe now as we move towards a more digital society, as far as
Yeah.
our social interactions are concerned, it's like because I mean, a podcast feels like an in-person conversation. And when we read so much over text and you lose the inflections, you lose the nuance, you lose the real laughter, the genuine, like, like just the smiles and shit. I think that, I mean, for me, podcasts, I think maybe that's one reason why I'm so fine being, when quarantine happened, the beginning was terrible. Don't get me wrong. But I had an alcohol problem, but it's like,
Right.
one reason for me, I think I'm so comfortable. Like I don't really throughout the week, I don't see anybody, just myself really. When I work, I do go to the gym, but it's like, cause I have the podcast on, but I feel like I'm getting that personal touch, and imagine if you're a kid and you don't really do podcasts. Cause I imagine when I was a kid, to me, it would sound like the news. You know what I mean? I fucking hated them. You know what I mean? As a kid, you're like the
Yeah.
news
Hell
on a
no.
cartoon. And then all you got's Twitter, right? And then you're just like, can't see your friends and shit. Like, no wonder you're dissing George Masvidal in the replies. No wonder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. Or the thing too is that if someone were to take some of the quotes from our interview and write up an article, it would look so much different than what we were actually saying, like the way we were talking. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
you take it and people are gonna be like, oh my God, who are these guys? It's like, dude, we're just talking off the cuff about stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we're not, I'm not running for president or anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm just saying stuff, but people, I don't know. It just comes off better when you see it's just two people having a genuine conversation.
Well, I will say a lot of times when there might be someone I did not like, or maybe someone that I maybe not like isn't the right word, maybe someone that I just didn't
Vibe with.
yeah, or maybe someone I would never have gone out of my way to support or check their shit out. And then maybe Joe had them on a podcast or they're on a podcast I watch. And then I give it some time and I listen to the person's story and I go, holy shit. Like, hell yeah. And then they get a fan out of it. You know what I mean?
Listen, did you listen to the Francis Ngannou episode on Joe Rogan?
I did. Made
Dude,
me a huge fan.
if you're not a fan after that,
I
like,
know.
go get your ears checked, my guy.
I
Like,
know.
she was so it was, I mean, it was so good for a guy who, learned English not that long ago. That was so good.
Yeah, and he and just his story about how like working in those mines and like making no money and having to go to different countries and finally make his way over here for his dream and shit. It was
Yeah.
like, yeah, and it was like that was so when the Ngannou fight was happening with Miocic, I would have probably watched it anyways. But it was
Yeah.
like that just put so much more on it. So like when the money came down for it, I won. What did we? We never. Well, that night we didn't bet on the first card because no one really gave a fuck the first fight. But
Yeah.
the 4 fights after that we all bet on, and I
Yeah.
won 3 out of my 4 bets.
Which one did you lose on?
Which one did I lose on? I lost on Woodley. I put money on Woodley.
You thought he had something left in the tank?
Yeah, I thought he was. I mean, but at that point, I was,
Oh,
still not.
with your heart more than with your head.
Yeah, it was one of them things. Like I don't know. For me, it's like the redemption story. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
want to see these guys come back. I want to see them win. I hate watching.
Yeah.
I hate watching people fail. Like I hate it. So it's but it was but that happened and I was up $60 and then I gave because like we pick one person and we just go back and forth and then at the end of the night I gave him all his money back and just said, see, that makes it more fun, doesn't it? Just gave him all his money back.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, why not?
Well, that's the thing we try to tell some of these fighters too. 'Cause some of them they get big and they're like, I'm doing no media ahead of the fight. It's like I understand 'cause it's annoying, but it's like give people a reason to tune in. Like if you have a good conversation, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to do a million interviews, but you do something like a Rogan or a few guys that are good, and you give people a reason to tune in to root for you. Like that's important. Like the guys that stay like a hermit, people are gonna like you for your fighting abilities, but they don't know your personality. So you have to have the guys that can bring that out of them, that makes them interesting. That it's people like you who are still, finding out this guy's this guy, this guy's that guy. Why do I want to watch this guy? Like that's super
Right.
important.
Yeah, and I think it's you give people ways to connect with you. Like I think one thing with me, a lot of my channel now is just food and stuff, but like every now and again I'll get kind of down into my personal a little bit. And when I talk about to people and I'm like, yeah, like I grew up a nerd. I played a lot of video games. I didn't get into shape until I was like 23 years old. You know what I mean? 24. So it's like I grew up as like I don't know, like I grew up not who I am right now. Like in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? And it was like, how do I just get there's in like when people think like your typical bodybuilder kind of stupid.
Yeah.
You know
No
what I
personality.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
no
just the
personality.
muscle dude that he talks about eggs and chicken all day, but not like,
Yeah.
I'm more than my muscles.
Yeah.
As great as it is to have them.
Yeah. Well, and I like to tell people too, like, when I was a kid, I would look at guys and that like, that had the abs and that were successful and all this stuff. And I never thought in a million years I could ever have that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then like, if I could tell anybody anything, it's like, because I'm not the biggest guy. I'm not this like naturally really attractive guy. I'm not like this, like in a lot, like I don't have a lot going for me, but there's one thing I do have is that I work my ass off.
Right.
I try really hard and I don't fuck people over. I do good business. Like, you know what I mean? I don't, it's not necessarily, obviously making money's fun, but it's not like at the end of the day, my heart is not in this to screw anybody out of anything or get one over on anybody. I want everybody around me to win. I want everybody around me to do as well as they possibly can. And it's like, and you couple good intentions with a really hard work ethic and you're willing to like work those long nights and you're willing to like bend over for people to make sure that you get the content you need to keep your shit going. And it's just anything's possible if you just work for it, man. Like, people want to say that America right now is like the most corrupt and worst country in the world. I'm like, dude, this is the best country on this planet. Dreams, you can do anything here if you got the right work ethic.
Yeah.
Like for real, like you can do anything here. So as someone that didn't have shit, I'm in a pretty good spot and it hasn't been easy, but I fucking work for it. And if you're willing to work for it, dude, we could be talking 3 years from now and you could be standing ringside, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being a commenter at the UFC.
Yeah. I always joke with people at the end of this podcast, like, listen, in a few years, when you get a phone call from my producer asking, Kay, can you fly down to California or whatever to come in studio? It's like, you'll remember this. It's like, you'll remember this conversation. And a lot of people laugh, but it's like, for me, it's like, if I don't have something that I'm chasing like that, then
You
it's
have
like,
to have
you need something. Matthew McConaughey said it, right? He's like, I need something to chase.
100%.
It's like, I'm not going to be satisfied until I make it to that point where it's like, that's my living. And I love I wake up happy to do what I do.
One of the things I told myself early on when I was living in still in Ohio in this small town. I was like, one of these days, I'm gonna drive a Lamborghini down Memorial Drive. That was the main street in our city, right? That was my whole thing, Lamborghini Memorial Drive, and I always stuck to that. And you tell people what your dreams were, because like be like, yeah, I want 100,000 subs on
Yeah.
YouTube. I want this, I want that. People kind of laugh at the beginning. No one believes in your dream. Like no one's
Yeah.
gonna believe in it like you do.
Yeah.
But I
Exactly.
always believed in it. You know what I mean? And then just like a week and a half ago, I went to a Lamborghini dealership and like put down a deposit on a brand new Lamborghini. It's going to be built in like 6 to 9 months. And I'm like, you know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
like as a kid, that was just something I just thought that I just have no way I could ever even touch one, feel one, be allowed in the dealership.
Right.
And
Yeah.
now it's like I walked in there and, without trying to sound any type of way, I bought that motherfucker like it wasn't shit.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but
Yeah.
like that's just what it is though. And it's like you got to have that dream, you got to believe in yourself in such a way that like no one can tell you shit. Like
Yeah.
no one can tell you shit. You're going to do what you do. You're going to do it to the best of your ability. Every time you do it, you get better, you improve, you adapt. And then for real, like you could be on like legit, like, well, you know what I mean? ESPN or, you could legit have
Yeah.
something crazy going on like that in a few years. And that's just real. Like that can happen.
Yeah.
It's just, you just keep fucking going. So that's what I always try to tell people. Everybody, the problem with people is they don't get instant. Like it took me 10 months, I think, to hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Maybe that's the right number. Maybe it was 10 months for 1,000. I can't remember the exact number, but it wasn't until I hit 10,000 that I started seeing like that steady growth. Where it was like, I could probably quit my job. And like, if I really
Right.
penny pinched, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it took time to get there. But the amount of people that make those crazy 1, 2, or 3 videos get no love. And then they just dip out and bounce because they don't see that. It's like same thing with weight loss or same thing with working out. You go to the gym 3 times and think you're supposed to be buff. And it's like, dude, this is
Yeah. It's a long-term thing. It's not, if it was easy, everybody would do it. I think that's the
100%.
best way to say it.
Yeah. Well, you already got the hardest part down, bro. I mean, you know how to talk, you know your shit, you know?
I mean, but if you like, I tell people like, if you go on my YouTube channel, watch like the first couple interviews, like that, and it's a really huge name. Like the second video is with Israel Adesanya of all people, but it did not age well. Like you look at it, it's like quality shit. Even my voice sounds different, but it's like, if I'd given up there, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, and you just got to keep going. Even if you think you suck, like keep going, keep going. And some days it's hard because you feel like you'll feel like you do a podcast and nobody's watching it. And you're like, why am I doing this shit? And it's like,
Right.
it doesn't matter. You keep doing the next one. And then eventually someone's going to see it or you're going to reach a point where people start to recognize it and you can't quit because, even Joe Rogan, you look at his first one where they had like the snowflakes coming down and
Yeah.
you're like, hey, what the hell is this? Could you imagine if you had just stopped? It's like, that's difficult.
Dude.
You got to keep putting out content.
Dude, my first funny story about my first videos I ever did. I was making videos and I was doing little vlogs and no one was watching them. Wasn't getting any love. I'd have my local people that kind of knew me in town that would watch them. I knew
Yeah.
they were all just talking shit. You know what I mean? Pretty
Yeah.
cringy.
Yeah.
And I remember I would always look at my YouTube and on the app you could see the money you've made from YouTube.
Right.
And it was always stuck at a penny. I just remember it was stuck at a penny, wouldn't move. So I quit checking it. I'm like, well, I don't need to focus on that. You know what I mean? Because the goal was always like, let's quit my job and do this full time. So I'm like, there's no need to focus on that. So I went like a couple months and didn't look at it. And then one day I decided to look at it and I go, still putting out videos, still just, I think I was at that point, I was trying to do 1 video a week. It was on this little schedule. And then I refresh it one day and there was like $80 in there. And I'm like, what?
That's
$80.
money.
And for me back then, that was like a lot. Like it was like $80. Like, cause it was the first money I'd really made that wasn't like just from a job, from a paycheck, just money that just came out of, what I was doing. And I was like, what is this? And I looked and I had made a video. It's like the 5th video I ever made that I wasn't paying any attention to that now had like 100,000 views. And it was because it was like how to meal prep for bodybuilding. It just was keywords that were just fucking.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it was like people were watching it. And I said, fuck. So I started redoing that same type of video in different ways over and over and over again. And that's what like got me my initial jump on YouTube was able to make me go full time. You know what I mean? Then I offered my personal training and shit online after that. And I was able to get me saved up enough money to where I knew that if I like quit my job and I made no more money, I could at least pay my bills for like 6 months. And I was living really cheap. Like I was such a tight ass. And it was like, I did that, took the leap, quit my job. And then, the rest is history. I just never stopped. As soon as I quit, I did a video every single day, shot, edited, and put out for half a year straight. Didn't miss a day.
Yeah, and it's like, look where it got you. Consistency, because that's the thing, right?
100%.
You see me, I do the intro, and I'm like, holy shit, 29. But it's like, yeah, because a lot of people, they stop at 5, they stop at 4, and it's like 29. Like, you're telling me I talked to 29 different people for at least an hour on this damn podcast. Like, that's something. You know what I mean? Like,
That is
even
something.
like you're gonna look back on it, it's gonna be like, you kept at it, and 29, like you're starting to get established. Might not get the views you want, obviously, but it's like you're on to something.
Yeah, it's I just think consistency in general is the secret to success in any field.
Yeah,
Because if you have even average intelligence, if you do anything over and over and over again, you have no choice but to get better at it if you are passionate about it.
right.
So you see fighters that are training that are getting better year after year after year. You see some are your favorite music artists, unless they fall off because they just make so much money, which is easy to get complacent. You make
Yeah,
money, it's
yeah,
easy to get complacent. So, but it's like as long as you have that same passion and you're going for it and you keep doing it, I mean, you only get better. It's like anything in life. So it's like you take that one thing that you're focused on, which for me was YouTube, take that one thing and hammer it, hammer it, hammer it. And eventually it has no choice but to work because it's always going to keep getting better.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And if you're getting the right people, the people that they want to talk to, especially, dude, if you can start booking people um, outside of, just the UFC, have conversations that bridge multiple gaps,
yeah.
um, which I could probably hook you up with. My business partner is real big into Ryan Ankrum. I don't know if you've watched me enough to see.
I think so. Like the name sounds familiar, but I'm sure if I saw him, but yeah, I definitely saw him
All right, well, if you
maybe
want
in
another
person.
interview, I got you one. I guarantee you do
Yes,
it.
sir. Appreciate that.
Guaranteed do it. He's big into steroids and he's a fucking yeah, ladies
Yeah,
man. Jesus.
yeah,
But if you get to even to a point where it's like, all right, like dude just came off a fight and you can catch some of that like that clickbait energy of like getting that interview right after the fight. You know what I mean? Of like that, like, like getting a Masvidal right after the knee,
yeah.
that
Oh
type of
fuck
shit.
yeah,
Dude, and that's kind of blows your channel up. Then you get people coming in and nah, dude, it's exciting for me to think about what your shit could become. You know what I
yeah.
mean, though?
Yeah,
Like
but the thing is, you get discouraged because like I'm in it every day. You see it from the outside. It's like you need to have someone, or you need to have some kind of encouragement. You know what I mean? Because if it's just
100%.
you, eventually, motivation like it doesn't stay. It comes and it goes. But you need people that do get excited for you and stuff like that, like knowing that you're on the right track.
The real winners are the ones that do this shit even when they aren't motivated to do it.
Right.
I have days today was a rough day, man, for me. Today
Yeah.
was a day where yesterday was a crazy intensive video. So I shot video for like 7 hours straight. Had to cook 49 different meals all in one video, prep it, package it, film it all by myself. Then I had to edit the entire video yesterday. So my morning started at 7 and I didn't lay down in bed until like 9:15 at night. It's a long day. So like slept
Yeah.
like shit. Woke up today, back to the gym, back to everything, filmed a video, tired, business stuff, handling stuff, emailing back and forth, just like minded a million different places. It's like like multiple times, man. I'll be in the middle of a video and I'm like, you could just stop right now and just like, finish it tomorrow. What could it hurt?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm like, no, because there's never a time that I push through the bullshit and I keep going that I lay down in bed at night and I'm ever mad at myself for like finishing my shit. I'm always feel so much better. And that was
Yeah.
why, like, when you emailed me earlier, when I first saw the podcast invitation, everything in my head was like, you don't got time for this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But then as I finished my day up and I got closer to the end, I'm like, fuck it. I'm a hot because like you feel so good once you're done accomplishing shit. And it's like, you know, the especially too once like because I remember for me, it was like I started my YouTube channel and like no one gave a fuck. And then at some point, a couple people started giving a fuck. And then at some point, like it was 10
Yeah.
people, you know what I mean? And then it became like, yeah, just then I had this little community of people and it was super cool. So it's yeah, and even then though, I always try to say like I love that I have an audience, but you know, I find it like I do this for me. You know what I mean? Because I feel good when I do it.
Yeah.
I love what I do. I do have fun. Even on the
Yeah.
days where I'm feeling shitty. Like I do have fun. And it seems like you're having fun.
I love it. That's the thing. It's like, I don't have that community. So it's like what's driving me is because I love doing it and I have so much
Right.
fun doing it.
Yeah, like I think conversations too are fun. I love having conversations.
Yeah.
Is this the
Yeah.
longest podcast you've done?
Easily. Easily. Like before it
Easily.
was like the longest one was like 107. And then I'm looking and I'm like, okay, we're over an hour. And then I see a 2 and I'm like, wow, like this turned into a JRE episode, man. Like
What?
we covered so much stuff and it's flowing. I think
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
main
yeah.
thing is if you don't have that flow, because I listen to some, you listen to other guys, you try to, okay, what are they doing right? What can I improve on based on that? And a lot of guys have issue with the flow. Like sometimes if they do an interview, they'll ask a question, it's awkward. You
Right.
feel like there's no flow to it. Like it's like, "Oh, what did you think of your last fight? Okay, so what are you eating during camps?" Like, hold on. That didn't flow.
Yeah.
That, you gotta, or even some guys they come in, it's like I have to ask these questions. For this podcast, like I write nothing down. Like obviously I know you, I watch your content, I watched it for a long time. And it's like we're gonna come in and we're gonna talk, and then if it sucks, it sucks. If it's good, it's good. Whatever happens, happens.
If I ask you, so I'm gonna ask you a question. So I want to know your opinion. If you watch my content, do you think I'm different on a podcast than I am in my content? Do I act like how you would have thought I would act? Am I how you thought I would have been?
No.
How'd you think I would have been?
I don't know how to it's like your videos, you come off, you're very like, you're excited, like you're very intense. You know what I mean? This
Yeah,
podcast, like you feel like you're just chilling. You know what I mean? It
right.
feels like that's a side of you. Like you're not cutting up meat with, scissors or anything. It's like you're
Yeah,
you're sitting down, you're talking about whatever, you know what I mean? And I think that's a good side of people to see too. Like obviously you have what made you successful, but people want to know that, it's like, is this guy a douchebag off camera? Like, is
yeah,
this
right,
guy
right,
an
right.
asshole? Like people want to know, like, how some people are outside of it.
Well, it's with YouTube. I always think it's funny because like people that watch my channel, I can do it in like a heartbeat. Like, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to my kitchen. You know what I mean? I can do that. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I can turn that energy on.
Yeah.
And it's like and I guess the two depends on what I'm talking about. Like I said, I'm pretty low energy tonight, but
Yeah.
I can like I'm a pretty high energy dude. But yeah, YouTube. So much of what it is you find this like persona is not the right word, but you find this energy that you bring to it. And you'll
Yeah.
notice any creators you watch that are vlogging, like, hey guys, what is up? They just seem like they're so like,
Dude, you make me think of Greg Doucette, where everybody's big thing is he's screaming at the camera with all
yep,
the veins coming out, like, and everybody's like, "Does he know how to talk without screaming?" And it's like that's what he's doing for YouTube, and that's what works.
dude, talk about a come up.
Yeah,
Me and Coach Greg text a lot behind the scenes. If people knew how hardcore he was killing it financially,
yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Wow. I'm gonna keep everything, I have a lot of trust between people in confident or in confidence. But yeah, like if you knew how much money that dude was making,
yeah,
you wouldn't even believe it. Like they
yeah,
wouldn't even believe it. So I see a lot of things when people are like, because you'll get haters that are like commenting on his stuff. Like, how does anybody? I'm like, dude, if you understood, because I have a certain level of respect for like we can talk about someone like a Jake Paul, right? A lot of people hate on him hardcore, but like I may not like him as a person, but I
right.
respect the hustle. I respect anybody's hustle. When you're making, dude, like this are you watching this fight with him and Ben Askren?
I don't know, man. It's gonna depend on a lot of things. Can I find a way to stream it for free? Do I work the
Yeah.
next day? Like, yeah, I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch this thing, but it's like if I can find a way to hassle free find it, fuck it. I'll watch the circus thing.
Well, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a
I
shit
can't blame
show.
because the thing is, people love that storyline. You got the damn storyline. So it's like, I can't, some people, it's like, I can't believe you'll watch this shit. No, dude, it's like, enjoy it. Don't feel guilty about it. It's like, yeah, it's crap, but it's like a McDonald's, right? Like, we all love it. We all, "Oh, it's so bad," but it's like, you love it. It's like, enjoy it.
Yeah,
Enjoy it 'cause it's fun.
McDonald's is so good. McDonald's was my like drunk at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
roll through. The order that you get at McDonald's is the double quarter pounder. You get a 20-piece nugget. You get the biggie sized fry. You get 2 sausage McMuffins. And then if you're feeling like something else and the ice cream machine's not broken, you get a McFlurry you put in the fridge to have or a freezer to have after it's all done.
Whoa. I can just feel like the fullness of the stomach just sitting there like, oh, it's so good.
Dude, I mean, seriously, like I eat like obviously like anabolic like all week and I keep my diet pretty in check, but when I eat bad, I eat bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you earn it. You work your ass off. Like you can afford like some people it's like, "Oh, they told me I couldn't have cheat meals." Like, yeah, because you cheated your whole way up until now, you know what I mean? But with you it's
100%.
like you earn it. You know what I mean? Like you do work out. You're not like, overweight and it's like I'm going to have a cheat meal. It's like every meal is a cheat meal.
Well,
It's
that yeah.
different.
You've been having to cheat years, bud.
Yeah. It's like, come on, man. It's like,
Cut
don't.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what like my like philosophy is with because I'm a foodie at heart. I
Right.
love food. Food's one of my favorite. It sounds weird, but I have a very unhealthy relationship with food. I love it. I love bad food. So it's like kind of the inspiration behind like all the anabolic recipes and shit was like, how can I find a way to make this bullshit chicken, rice, and broccoli diet I'm eating like sustainable? Because I started following Coach
Yeah.
Greg and I'm hearing a lot of shit about like it's not the food, it's the macro. It's the end of the day, it's the
Yeah.
calories and it's
Calories
the
in, calories
protein.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it's that simple. And Greg's like, don't be an idiot. So I'm like, okay, let me test this theory. So I just started fucking around with some shit. And I had days where I would eat nothing but French toast and like weight's coming off. I'm leaner. I'm lifting good. I feel fine. And I did the carnivore diet for a while where I
I
only
followed
ate.
along with I followed along with that one because I know Joe did it. I know you did, and I was so curious. Like, it's
Yeah.
expensive, but it's like I'm so curious. Like, dude, you eat meat. Meat is amazing. So I was following along with that one closely.
Dude, I felt so good
Yeah.
on that diet.
So
And that
why
was
is it
one of
not
those things.
sustainable? Because I saw somebody was like, oh, but nobody's like sustained it. Like, what's the reason for that?
I just think because it gets boring.
Okay, yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
that makes sense to me. But everyone's like, see, 'cause it's not really healthy. I don't think it's that deep
no,
though.
I mean, you have like Sean Baker, carnivore at carnivore MD on Twitter. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast. He's done carnivore for years now. His bloods and panels and everything, totally perfectly healthy man, ripped, shredded, older dude. Claims he's not on TRT. I don't know how not, but great genetics. There's this other guy that I followed. Ken's his first name. Can't think of his last. But I took a pretty deep dive into it. Mark Bell from Mark Bell's Power Podcast does
Yep.
little stints with it. And yeah, they I mean, all these people are doing it, and it's like nothing's going wrong.
Yeah.
Yet people are doing all vegetarian diets and vegan diets and having all these weird side effects. So it's like, and then you think about it, and it's like meat is just one of those things where we grew up as hunter-gatherers, we evolved as hunter-gatherers,
Yeah.
right? And we're hunting prey, and like, getting the meat was like the valuable thing. You
Yeah.
hunt the meat, you bring it back, and it's like, and there's certain populations of people that only have subsisted on meat for generations just because of where they live. They're landlocked. Like
You
in
eat what you have. You know what I mean?
yeah,
People act like you pick and choose. Like, you eat what you got, man.
and to think the human body isn't adapted enough to be able to turn, because basically the argument was like, look, your body knows what to do. It knows, like, unless you're eating arsenic, you're eating stuff with nutritional value. It knows what to do to keep you alive, like, essentially. So when
Yeah.
I did carnivore and I felt incredible, the diet was amazing. It kind of blew my mind on what was even possible with dieting. I'm like, so I don't need vegetables every day, and I felt better without vegetables.
It's crazy.
I eat a lot of vegetables. I feel like shit, dude.
Do you still take greens when you were doing it? Like, I know Joe did. Did you
Oh,
still
like
take that
super
stuff?
greens? No, I cut that out
No.
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I literally just did meat. Basically, this is what it boiled down to. My diet was essentially I would buy 80% lean ground beef, and I would have like a pound to a pound and a half of that a day. Then I would do some I would buy ribeye steaks. That's what got expensive.
Yeah.
I would do ribeye steaks, and I'd eat like a couple pounds of that a day. And then if I wanted to switch it up, I would do like chicken wings, because it's high fat, in the
Yeah.
air fryer. And then all my cheat meals were Texas barbecue. Which Texas barbecue, dude, Texas barbecue is so fucking good. You don't need sauce. You don't need anything. You go in there and you just eat that meat,
Yeah.
dude. It's, if you've never had it, whoo,
But you you
ooh,
you have to be careful with what's the rabbit starvation, right? Because a lot of people, they did it and they're like, hold on, we need some fatty meat, because everybody wanted to eat lean, and it was like, well, hold on, what's this rabbit starvation thing?
yeah. So rabbit starvation is essentially if you are eating it's okay. So the body basically has two primary ways that it gets its energy. The main one is through carbohydrates. That's what the majority of people go through. You have
Right.
somebody goes on the keto diet, your body gets to a point where it's turning the fats into your energy, ketogenesis. So it's using
Right.
the fat, turning it into energy, which to say the keto diet's really good for fat loss. Although, calories in, calories out. So if you're doing keto, but you're not in a deficit, you're still not gonna, it's not gonna do shit. That's one
Yeah.
of the biggest fallacies with modern diets is everybody thinks you just do the diet, but they have no understanding
Yeah.
of like, yeah, dude, eating 400 eggs in a day, you're still not gonna lose weight.
Didn't you get killed on a forum because you showed up and one guy was like, I'm eating 4,000 calories in meat, and you're like, my guy, the calories, and everybody like
Oh,
came
dude,
at you
geez,
for it.
dude, are we gonna get into the carnivore Reddit forum?
Sure, I mean,
Oh,
it's
Lord.
like, we're here. Like, I remember you said it, and it made me laugh because it's like, you know this stuff, and everybody's like, "No, dude, it's eating steak." It's like, hold
Dude,
on.
the dumbest motherfuckers I've ever interacted with in my entire life were the people that were on the carnivore Reddit forum. Like the stories I would hear about these fucking grown little infants talking about this diet. Like, well, for one, no one has realistic expectations. Everybody thought they were going to go into carnivore and that like it was going to be just like this miracle thing. And like obviously you're reading like nameless and faceless people posting. So your brain's filling in the blanks. But like what did the one guy I remember there was one thing I was just completely appalled by. Um but yeah, they were basically telling people it didn't matter how many calories you ate, as long as you were just eating meat, you were going to get the
Yeah.
side effects. And I'd go or get the positive benefits. And I'd go in there and I'm like, hey guys, look, I've been doing this diet for like a month now. I'm a bodybuilder. Like you still need a calorie deficit. So, here's how you can figure that out. And then I got my comment removed and then banned from the subreddit for like a day. I'm like, and I get a message from this girl and she's like, yeah, you're not allowed to spread misinformation here. I'm like, what the fuck are you
Ooh,
talking about?
it's like, are you about to get me mad now?
Yeah. And then I get back on and then like, now I'm pissed. So I'm on the next day. I eventually deleted Reddit off my phone. It became a
Yeah,
very bad
you
habit
you, you
or
have
very
to.
bad app and habit
Yeah.
for me. But I got on one day and this guy was talking about his diet. He's like, I'm not losing weight. He's like 300 pounds. And someone's like, well, what are you eating? Tell us what you're eating. He's like, well, he's like, I start and I make like a big ribeye steak in the morning. I have 6 eggs. I do them sunny side up or whatever, and I break the yolks all over the top of the steak, and then I use my steak and pretend it's bread, and I sop up the yolks, and I'm eating it. And the way he described it was making me sick to my stomach. And
Yeah.
then it was just that and a whole lot of other shit. And like I kind of did some quick math in my head, and I estimated it to be like 3,500 calories this dude was eating.
Yeah.
Saying he's driving through like Wendy's. He's like, I had 4 doubles, 4 bunless doubles. And I just reading it made me mad. And then so I comment and I'm like, dude, like for one, you're three, like he was saying he was like 300 something pounds and he was like 5'8", I think.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, all right, brother. Like, and it kind of lined it out again. And then I started just getting like attacked by
Yeah.
people telling me I was wrong. And that's not the way the diet works. And like his body needed to repair before it could ever lose weight and shit. And I got fucking I told them all to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got permanently banned from the subreddit. So yeah. I think maybe my demeanor in social media and forums like that maybe just don't go the best because I just it was not pleasant. But like I said though, that's the problem with fad diets. And what I always try to preach, when anytime I'm talking about the anabolic diet or like, the recipes and stuff I do is like, look, like this diet will work for you, but you have 2 rules to follow. You need to eat the amount of calories you need in a day, depending on your goal. You need to eat the amount of protein your body needs in a day. Now, if you're literally just eating my recipes, you don't even got to think about the protein because that's the goal. Like
Right.
everything's so high
Yeah.
protein. You don't got to think about it, but like you still need that deficit
Yeah.
to lose weight. That's it. And if you go on keto and then once again, I think this kind of parlays back into the COVID or parlays back into anything where we talk about how people don't have enough information. They read the headline. I remember being at a cookout once. This sticks with me so much. I was at this cookout and this lady and this other lady were talking, 2 older women, talking about the diets they were on. I wouldn't say either one of them was like, in incredibly bad shape or anything. But yeah, one of them, like I watched her go like, yeah, I'm keto right now. It's been working pretty good. And she reaches down and grabs a handful of potato chips and puts them on her plate at the cookout.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that's fucking not keto. That's
Yeah.
not keto. I'm on keto. Just no one questioned it. I'm just sitting back like, all right. And I didn't know anybody there. It was like, I was there it was like a friend's family thing. So I'm just like, well, this will
Pick
be
your
fun to talk
battles.
about on a podcast a couple years from now.
Dude, the calories in, calories out. The moment I knew how crazy it was the bodybuilder, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Sadiq Kadzovic.
Oh
And
yeah.
he was talking about like he was like when I was young, I used to eat. He was like half a birthday cake, go train, come home, eat the second half of the birthday cake. He's like, and I look great. And he said, why? Because of the calories. And then you think like, could there be anything unhealthier than a birthday cake? Like you look at this guy's physique, and you're like, yo, he ate a whole ass birthday cake, and he looked great. that to me was like the craziest, like the true impact of those calories. Because there's no way you're gonna get shredded eating birthday cake.
Well, it's like you look at Michael Phelps,
Yeah,
U.S. Olympic gold medal swimmer, and he talks about his diet when he's training, and it's like this absurd amount of food every
yeah,
day, absurd. And you're like, your average person, for one, couldn't eat all that, but
no,
two, would blow up like a puffer fish. And you look at it and break it down, but then like you estimate how many hours he's spending in the pool, he's burning it off, how many calories he's actually burning.
yep,
The dude shredded eating all that. So it really does. That's why I try to tell people, it's like, it's not necessarily there's like good and bad food. Yeah, there's food you can eat that might be like obviously addicting, could trigger you. Like if you buy a box of Oreos, it's really hard to just have 3.
yeah,
You know
right.
what I
Because you're
mean?
like recommended serving size. Like, but I want to kill the whole box. Like,
Yeah,
what are we
you
doing
know?
here?
Yeah, or like a bag of chips. You know what I mean? Because like, okay, if I have 2,500 calories that I'm going to eat in a day to try to hit my goal, and a bag of Doritos is 1,500 of them, and then it's not going to do anything to make me feel more full. It's
Yeah,
not going to do anything. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get enough protein. But it's like if I wanted a bag of Doritos and then I wanted to maybe eat some chicken breast to get my protein up, that'd work.
it's crazy.
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I've
yeah,
and I do that a lot with them. I do a lot of I call it anabolic fasting, but really it's just kind of like OMAD, but like some days I'll fast all day. Like if I know I'm going to be around a bunch of bullshit all day, there's a
yeah,
potential I'm going to hit the slippery slide, you know what I mean, and just fuck
yeah.
my shit all up. I'll like just not eat all day, I'll fast. And then when I get home, I'll eat all like 2,500 of my calories in one meal. So I'll make a massive pizza. I'll make like Parmesan fried chicken. I'll do I'll make like an ice cream thing. I'll have all this food and I'll sit and it'll take me like 45 minutes to eat all of it. But it's like, you know what I mean? The results
Yeah.
still come. Everything keeps moving.
That, that's so crazy. And but the thing is, the average person doesn't necessarily know that. They don't realize that, right? They think like paleo stuff like that. It's good because we're eating healthy food, but it's like we all want that to be this like eat as much as you want as long as it's healthy. But as soon as you
Yeah.
look into it, you're like, damn it, it's still those damn calories.
Well, I mean, you see most people, like I always say this with like keto and paleo or whatever, anytime, because they're like, well, keto worked for me, paleo worked for me. But it's like anytime you're on the standard American diet and you're just hitting the drive through and you're drinking the sugary sodas and you don't realize how quickly all those calories add up.
Yeah.
You have no idea. And the second that you even pay the slightest bit of attention to what your food consumption is, like, and you start looking like, all right, what am I eating today? You know,
Yep.
okay. Like if I'm going paleo, traditionally, it's going to be just lower calorie stuff, more filling stuff, more high protein stuff.
Yep.
So it's like you switch to that, you're going to see those initial results. And people generally lose, like you get on keto, there's a lot of water weight lost in the beginning because of the lack of carbohydrates. But it's like as soon as you lose that weight, and they might lose a little bit more of it, eventually they plateau because they don't really understand what's happening.
Yep.
You reach a point where like, okay, you kind of get the diet down, you're tracking, and you're like, well, it's keto, it's working. Add on a few more eggs. Let's do extra butter today.
Oh, that's how they get you.
That's how they get you. Which why I saw it like is always like when you get on like the MyFitnessPal app, you know, and you can
Ooh,
track the
yeah.
calories and track what you eat. I mean, that's really if you like it's guaranteed results.
Yeah.
Guaranteed if you track your food and you eat enough protein and eat the amount of calories you need a day. It's guaranteed. And I've done it a million times. I'll go on these little things. I'll do like a mini cut and then I'll get extra lean for a little bit and I'm just tracking, doing my shit. And that's with one crazy cheat meal a week. But then as soon as I quit tracking, and then, you know, dude, having these anabars, these new protein bars we launched in the house has been a nightmare for me.
Yeah.
A nightmare. I have eaten so many anabars. It's unreal. I'm talking like 20 in a day, unreal.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Which we sold completely out of those motherfuckers, which is insane.
I mean, that's exciting seeing all the business stuff happen. It's like, and the thing is, they always say like you want multiple streams of revenue, and to see them be successful, like that's exciting.
Well, they say that you're one thing I read that always resonated with me was they said your average millionaire. I don't know how true this is, but it sounded good. Your average millionaire has 7 sources of income.
It does sound good when you
It
put it
does
that way.
sound good. Yeah. But it's like the crazy thing about this launch, man, with the anabars. So we dropped this protein bar, been hyping it up for a little bit. But it was like, I expected a big launch, but I didn't expect what happened. Dude, we launched at 9 p.m. on a Thursday night. ahead of schedule. I've been hyping it up. I set the site to live at 9, and within 30 minutes, we'd done like $35,000 in sales. Yeah. It was just insane to watch. The number was climbing, and I'm on the phone with my business partner, and we're both just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And then over the course of the launch weekend, it was something like $125,000 or $130,000 in sales. And fucking March ended. January, February. Yeah, was that March? We launched in March. Yeah, we're in April. Okay, yeah, March ended, and we did more revenue in March than we did in the entire year of 2020
That's crazy.
in 1 month. Over one product, one launch, sold completely out. Ended up being something like 72,000 individual protein bars were sold.
That's crazy.
Yes, fucking insane. So right now we're sold out. So it's really sad looking at our website now. But that launch, but it was just like that's why like back to what I was saying earlier, was like I've done all this stuff to build an audience, build a group of people that trust me, trust what I say. When I tell them I'm going to have the best protein bar on the market, they believe me. Because I have a track record for being honest and not fucking people over, you know what I mean? And then like I tell them, they show up, they fucking support, they buy it. And it's like, there's no way I could have launched this protein bar and had any level of success if I hadn't done everything else up to this point the way I had.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, it's like compounding, like, success is like you start your journey and you're like a pebble rolling down a hill. But as that pebble goes, it picks up more steam, momentum, gets bigger, rolls. And then eventually by the end of it, you're just this unstoppable force. Like it would take so much to stop you at that point. When you're a pebble in the beginning, it's easy to knock you off track. But at the end of it, like you just become this immovable object. You're on your path. And it's like, yeah, this launch, yeah, like blew like I've never done anything that successful in business in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just blew everything out of the wall. It was just fucking insane. So, whew.
But you guys have the protein that's extremely successful too, right? What is it? The cinnamon toast swirl or
Yeah,
something
cinnamon
like that?
toast swirl, yeah.
Impossible to buy. I've seen ads for it. I've seen, every time I get like sold out, I'm just gonna add cinnamon in my vanilla because there's no way you're touching it. It's insane how successful it is.
Well, so the problem with protein powder is that it's expensive to manufacture, it's expensive to ship, and it's expensive to store because it's so big.
Right.
So there's a lot of extra costs that go into protein powder, which makes it the least profitable supplement you can sell. So it's protein bars. So I want to say like on like a jug of protein, the profit margins after we ship it, we might only make $5 on a tub.
Wow.
But yeah, like a box of protein bars all said and done ends up being like $13 or $14.
Yeah.
And you got to think a jug of protein, if you got 30 scoops in it, 30 days, box protein bars, 12 bars, 12 days. Most people won't sit there and just scoop protein in their mouth, but like a protein bar, you make a good enough one. People will sit there and eat.
Yep.
Dude, I mean, like I said, dude, I've had 9 anabars today.
Yeah.
Like it's the fucking problem.
Yeah.
I need to figure this out. So it's like, I mean, it's just, it's fucking wild. It's been, and like, protein was our primary driver and performer in 2020. So it's like to have that. And then, like I said, you just keep, as a business, like we started with protein, amino acids and pre-workout. And like we've moved into like cycle support. So like pills you take while you're taking steroids that will help you. Yeah. But that will help you like safeguard your body, your organs, prostate, any of the bad side effects. It's like there to like, we call it shield. It's like, all right, like not that this is the end all be all, but it'll basically put everything in your favor, help your liver, heart, kidneys, everything.
Yeah.
So we have that, launched that, didn't expect that to do well. And it's our like second best product. If we're not counting anabars compared to the protein, it's second best seller, but it profits more than the protein. So it's like, all right, you keep adding these things that people really like. You build out your catalog, and now we have 3 flavors of the anabars, all completely sold out. So more coming in stock, but it's like, all right, so now you got, we had $250,000 year last year. Then it's like, then we did that in 1 month this year. We added a new product to the lineup, and it's like, you just keep That's what a bit. I mean, it's just anything like a
Yeah.
business, a podcast, a YouTube channel. Like you're like right now, like you're on your 29th episode, right? So you're just like laying the groundwork, the seeds down
Yeah.
for what you're trying to do. And then it's like, but you got to have that foundation. Like our pre-workout, it sells, but I'm not getting rich off of it.
No.
Our greens sell. I'm not getting rich off of it. You know what I mean? But it's like eventually you have all this shit and it's all doing, it's got its own little, customer base. It's selling to certain people. And it's like, that's how you fucking make a successful business.
Yeah.
So it's like anything. It's like you gotta, like a seed, you water that motherfucker every day. It's gonna grow up sometime. But if you quit watering it, you give up on it, you don't give it sunlight, what are you left with?
Exactly. But it's like you couldn't have just went out there and been like, "Hey guys, we made these protein bars," if no one knew who you were, right? And people be like, why would I buy your protein bars? But people have
100%.
been following you and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And it's like, hold on, if he vouches for these protein bars, we're at least gonna give it a try. And that's huge too.
Well, it's I mean, so social media marketing is probably the most successful form of marketing
Yeah.
today. I mean, whether that's on a podcast, whether that's through athletes that are on Instagram or
Yeah.
whoever, just if you have a social media platform, pay those people to advertise for you. Our company, what's helped us out a ton is that I am our marketing.
Right. Yeah.
We don't got to you don't got to hire nobody to do nothing to tell people our stuff's good. Like
Yeah.
we know. So not only am I our marketing arm, but I'm also like, I'm taste testing all the stuff. I'm formulating it. I'm making sure it's got the macros we want.
Yeah.
I'm making sure it's something that works with what I'm telling my people works. Like, imagine if I came out with like a slice of chocolate cake and was like, this is what you need to eat. Here is your bar. And it's like no protein and all this bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not a good look. So it's like, I've had my hand in every part of its development, the wrapper, the name, Anabar.
Yeah.
Perfect, right? Fucking perfect.
Yeah. Can't argue with that.
You know what I mean? So it was like, yeah. And then, and a lot of these other companies, like if there's one thing, cause the company we work with that manufactures our bars, they're this, I would call them compared to other manufacturers, more of a mom and pop manufacturer.
Yeah.
Right. So, they work with a lot of brands that do like, let's say like more natural bars. Like, if you made a bar and you were like, this is the all natural vegan bar and it's got honey in it, peanut butter, and like oatmeal, and that's like all that's in it, 100% natural, right? They have these bars that taste good, but no one knows they exist.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
Yep.
So we reach out to these people and like, they're kind of letting us know how their stuff works. It's like, I'm like, well, how many do you think you're going to sell? I'm like, what? I mean, I know we'll sell them. I'm not worried about like not selling them. And I was like, and I like the idea. These bars you make are taste incredible, but can we spice them up a little bit? Like, what happens if we throw cinnamon toast crunch in this one? Right? We'll keep them on like a natural base. Let's keep them like no crazy fibers, not going to upset your stomach, no sugar alcohols. But like, let's throw some cinnamon toast crunch in this one. This one, can we make like peanut butter and jelly? And this one, I want Oreos in it. And can we put white chocolate around it? That'd be really dope.
That's definitely spicing it up right there. Just here, because that's what people want. They want the taste good, but they want the results too. Like, it's trying to sell it as honey and granola. It's not enough. Like it's not sexy.
Yeah.
It's not what people are looking for.
Yeah, and that's been the big thing with Anabars has been like making them like making protein bars sexy again, making them fun. Because you go and you buy a Quest bar. One of my big tests that I had when I was launching this was I remember going on a vacation with my mom and my sister, family vacation, and I was first kind of getting into fitness, and I packed a ton of Quest bars with me, and I thought they were the shit. I was kind of new to this whole thing. I'm like, these are so good. And then we were at the beach one day, and everybody was hungry. I'm like, well, here, mom, try a Quest bar, you'll love it. Here, my sister, try a Quest bar, you'll love it. And they ate them. They each took one bite and hated it. Like no one finished them.
Yeah.
And then when we were getting our samples of these new bars and really dialing them in, once we were like basically done, had all these samples, and they all came down here and visited me in Texas, and like I'm handing them out, they're scarfing them down like these are good. I'm like, all right, that's the goal.
Yeah.
When like it's not just bodybuilders that can eat them,
exactly.
Like the moms and you know what I mean, make a universal product, one you could put on a shelf in a grocery store that like anybody could eat and anybody's gonna love. You gave it to your kid, they would have no idea it was a protein bar.
Yep.
If you can nail that and then get the nutrition right, you got magic. And that's I haven't got one bad review yet. I haven't had one person tell me they don't like them.
Because that's the thing too. And you guys are in the fitness community. Like some people are used to, some of them just taste like shit, or we eat them because we want the macros stuff like that. But you got to think, like, if you want to reach the regular person, it's got to taste good to the regular person, not good for a protein bar.
100%. Yeah, and that's why I was confident telling people before we launched. I'm like, look, I know I'm biased, but this is the best tasting protein bar you'll ever have. Like
Right.
I repeated that over and over again. Sure enough, man, no one's
Yeah.
told me I was wrong yet.
I
So
mean, yeah, and it's awesome to hear because it's like some people would have stopped at YouTube, but you guys took it a step further. Well, especially you took it a step further, and now it's like you're using all of your resources in this case.
well, I mean, I think you should always leverage all the tools at your disposal.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at because growing up playing video games and just really I got really fascinated. I played a lot of RPGs where it's like role playing games where like your Skyrims and Mass Effects and just games where you start with a character, the character's shit, you level them up, you learn the systems, you go from a zero to a hero type thing. And I had this thought early on when I started doing this. I was like, all right, like I can play all these video games. I can get to the end. I can beat them. I can get really good at them. I can max level my characters, get all the dope shit, get the cool cars, get the cool clothes, get everything. I'm like, but isn't that what life is? Isn't life a game? Isn't it a set of systems? Is it not a set of rules? Is there not a certain way this shit works? Is there not a way to game it and be better than, the next person at gaming the system?
Yeah.
Right. And that was how I looked at it. And it was like, at any given point, you have all your resources available to you, and you always have your own intrinsic strengths and weaknesses. You figure out like what you're good at and you lean into that. Like if there's one thing I think I'm decent at on YouTube is I make what I do fun in a way that's I try to joke around, I try to laugh, I try to smile, I try to make people come away from videos feeling better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? While still giving information, offering value. And it's like playing to your strengths and then realizing once you do get some success, it's really easy to blow money. But the best thing you can do is save your money, be a cheap ass, get the essentials, buy yourself a nice house, don't go buy the Lamborghini with the first little bit of money you make, save it. And then pay off your bills, pay off your debts. Like, you know what I mean? Just like do the smart thing, like take the money you make. Like the first money I made on YouTube, I reinvested into new cameras. I reinvested into, you know what I mean? Like I just spent money when I didn't, when it was money that I didn't really have. Like I had it, but it wasn't like, it was like I was take these steps forward to make money. And then I would like take the step right back in my bank account just to like improve my shit. Boom, 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 boom. And it's like even doing Final Boss and starting that up was like a huge chunk of my savings to get that going with like, no, like, is this going to be successful? I don't know, but I believed in it. And then to the point where now it's like, yeah, I mean, dude, there's a high possibility we'll have our first $1 million year as a company this year.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. So it's like, yeah. And it's just like, I mean, there's so many resources available. I mean, whether that's the podcast thing. I mean, you're doing it. Anybody can start a podcast. Anybody can start a YouTube channel.
Yep.
All the knowledge you want, all these programs you need to learn. If you want to learn how to edit video, you can get on YouTube and watch things on. I put out 2 rap albums by myself that I recorded, edited, mixed, and everything all on my own. And like if you listen to it, it sounds like I did it in a professional studio. Like because I just taught myself how to do it. So it's like if you have the will and the drive, you can do anything you want, anything. So especially if you're computer inclined, if you're kind of technologically inclined and you're a fast learner, you can do anything and you can learn it. You don't even need college these days. Did you go to college?
That's why I was in France. I got that degree in marketing.
Okay. Do you have a job in marketing?
No.
Are you trying to find a job in marketing?
Not yet. Right now I'm trying to hunker down at the shit job that I have to try to make it full-time making content. And then eventually if I can't make it happen, then you just take the L and go into marketing. But
do you owe a lot of money for college?
No.
Okay, good.
Nope. So I'm in a good place. So it's like, it's just about, sticking with it and then trying to make something happen.
Yeah. Follow your dreams first. And you'll learn a lot more doing this. You could apply to your marketing job later even though I don't like to say if, because you're obviously going to make this work.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's
into existence.
Yeah. Dude, it's do or die. And that's what the mentality is. It's
Yeah.
fucking do or die. Like there's enough out here for everybody. Like, because people are consuming content at a rate we've never consumed it before, and like everybody's got podcasts become more popular every day. You get people and you resonate with the right people, especially like, you know, the hardcore MMA fans and the people that want to have that consistent content. And dude, you don't even always have to be interviewing people. You could get on and do like, you know, fight card reviews and,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Get on and just set your camera up. You're talking, you're editing in clips and footage from the last UFC. You know what I mean? Just like
Yeah.
there's all sorts of ways you could broaden. And there was Who's the Guy on YouTube that I started following. He would do these videos on fighters like, was Brendan Schaub really good? Question mark. And he would just sit and talk.
Oh, his name is
Kamaru or something.
yeah, something Kiona. I wish I had
Kiona.
his some it's like KK something, but I know who you're talking about. I think he's a
Yeah, yeah,
Hawaiian dude.
yeah,
It's like how good was he actually or something like that. But
yeah,
he got really successful doing that. And I've watched him grow, and it was really
yeah.
cool watching his journey.
Yeah, same. So it's like, I mean, dude, there's, you know, cause sometimes I get in my head and I'll be like, man, am I going to always have video ideas? And then like, I'll stop and I'll go, yeah, you can make a video about anything,
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
anything. Like there's a
The
million.
guy made a video about Brendan Schaub. You can make a video about anything.
Yeah. Fucking, and if Brendan Schaub can make it as a podcaster, anybody can make it as a
Yeah,
podcast.
exactly. Well, man, if that doesn't inspire you, I don't know what does.
No, I try not to hate on Schaub, man. He gets a lot of hate though. But
I saw somebody said like they were talking shit about him. They're like, but you know what? The difference between him and other people, they're like, you feel like his heart's in the right place. You know what I mean? It's
100%.
kind of an idiot. It's kind of goofball, but you don't feel like there's no malice. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, 100%.
you feel like his heart's in the right place. He's kind of a goofball, but
He's
you
doing his
know,
best. And like I always said, dude, I respect anybody's hustle. Like if there's one thing that I universally respect about anybody, is just that like if I see you are just like you're trying to do your shit, you know, like down here in Houston, I train at Alpha Elite Gym and it's just full of people that are just doing fitness full time, like or trying to do it full time or in the process of making content and starting YouTube channels and shit. And it's like when I talk to them and like you know, there's some people down here that are really successful at it and they kind of like distance themselves and they become like maybe too good to hang out with certain people because they're not at a certain level, right? But like for me, I try to take the Joe Rogan approach. I'm like, yeah, like I'm having the fights tonight. All you motherfuckers come over, make your TikToks, bring your cameras, shoot your videos. Like, let's do it. Like, why not? Let's all have fun. And it's like, because I have so much respect. Because I know when I started YouTube, I wanted to get those crazy collabs. I wanted to see the people that I loved and like, you know, shake their hands and all the people I respected. And if I ever I got blown off by a couple of them in person. It was really disheartening. You know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like at some point when you're trying to come up and you're trying to make this shit happen, having someone that's already done it or is in the process of doing it tell you that like kind of give you some advice or give you some words of encouragement, that goes such a long way.
Yeah.
And that's something I never really had in the beginning. Like in small town, dude, this town I grew up in, I was the first person, at least that I know of, that even had a YouTube channel that was trying to do it full time. Everybody talked shit when I started. Like, what's he doing? Laughing at me, telling my girlfriend at the time, like, what are you doing with him? He's just going to be a failure. Like, what are you doing with him? Find you a better man. You know what I mean? And then last year I fucking bought her a Range Rover and gave it to her. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but like that's that thing though. It's just like people are going to talk shit no matter what. You just can't believe anything they say. You just got to believe in yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I feel that. Listen, man, we've done almost 3 hours here.
I know. I need to get off here, bud.
That's crazy, man. Listen, I always like to end it by letting people plug their stuff. So you got a lot of stuff, man, the Anabars, social media, all that stuff. So anything you want to plug, sir, the floor is yours.
All right. Man, if you type in Remington James on YouTube, I'm going to pop up. That's really easy. If you type in Remington James on Google, I'm going to pop up. It's really easy. RemingtonJamesFitness.com. All the links are there. I mean, there's not many Remington Jameses. You have no problem finding me. So search it. You know what I mean? If you give a shit. If not, it's all good, baby. Hey, let me know if you need a repeat guest, maybe, you know, UFC card or something down the future, you know, down the road. You watch it, I watch it, we reconnect and give some thoughts on it or something.
100%, man. I got you. Listen, to end it, Remington, thank you for coming on, sir. I really appreciate it. This is awesome. It's going to go down in history books, one of the longest podcasts ever. And for the people that made it to the end, you know, holy shit, you made it to the end. Thank you to you. Congratulations. And